Well, I'm feeling kind of squirrely. I'm sitting on go. I'm 100 amp fuse that's about to blow. I'm all jacked up. Yeah, I'm all jacked up. Well, I'm ticking like a bomb right before the explosion. Strapped in, wild-eyed, locked and loaded. I'm all jacked up. I'm all jacked up. Got no blood left, replaced with vibration. Gonna rearrange the alphabet. I'll explain it later, cause I'm all jacked up. Yeah, I'm all jacked up. Well, I can see right through time and space, immortal on this 100,000 gigawatt roller coaster. I'm all jacked up. Yeah, I'm all jacked up. Well, I'm feeling kind of squirrely. I'm sitting on go. I'm 100 amp fuse that's about to blow. I'm all jacked up. Yeah, I'm all jacked up. Well, I'm ticking like a bomb right before the explosion. Strapped in, wild-eyed, locked and loaded. I'm all jacked up. I'm all jacked up. Got no blood left, replaced with vibration. Gonna rearrange the alphabet. I'll explain it later, cause I'm all jacked up. Yeah, I'm all jacked up. Well, I can see right through time and space, immortal on this 100,000 gigawatt roller coaster. I'm all jacked up. Yeah, I'm all jacked up. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I can't help it, baby. I just can't stand still. I was born to wander, and I probably always will. Better love me now. You know I won't be here long. Out yonder is calling, and I gotta be moving on. Guess I was born with a restless soul. Honey, I'd like to stay with you, but you know I gotta go. I'll see you next time I come back around. 'Cause baby, you know I'm a wandered man. Don't know where I'm headed, but I ain't lost my way. Ain't worried about tomorrow, busy living for today. Don't worry about me, baby. Don't let it get you down. If the world keeps turning, honey, I'll be right back around. Guess I was born.
Hello, welcome to the Warren County Sports Authority here from Studio 605. I am Jeff Simmons, as always, joined by Trevor Evans.
What's up?
And Chris Sullins.
Thank you. Thank you.
And also, we've done, Coach, we've done the impossible.
Time out. You just it's not coach tonight. It's Chris Sullins.
Chris
tonight,
Sullins
okay?
tonight.
There's only one
We're
coach
gonna-
at the table.
We're going to mess it up a
I
lot.
will say that we may have accomplished the impossible.
Yes.
We have Gary Rankin in Warren
We
County.
have brought Gary Rankin back. Coach Rankin is in Warren County.
Coach Rankin, thanks for coming. I know that I don't know exactly how we did this at all. We were in the woodshed a couple years ago, and now we're here with the winningest high school football coach in Tennessee state history, 17 state championships, over 500 wins. And honestly, I think you're the owner of more real estate in people's minds in Pioneer Nation than anybody ever
No doubt.
in
For
football.
sure.
No doubt.
Coach, everything good drive up?
Great drive. I'm excited to be here. Appreciate y'all having me. I was looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
absolutely. Well, guys, we're gonna let y'all know.
Yes.
Presenting sponsor of the Warren County Sports Authority, that is Prater's Barbecue.
Boys out there on the right, food's always good.
I knew it.
You went out there today, didn't
Oh,
you, Trev?
yeah. Yeah, Gary hooked me up.
Hey, when you're hungry for championship caliber barbecue, there's only one place to go. That is Prater's Barbecue. Prater's been serving up the flavors Warren County loves for years. Whether you're grabbing lunch, feeding the family, or catering your next big event, make it Prater's Barbecue. Prater's Barbecue, proudly serving Warren County and proudly presenting the Warren County Sports Authority out there. And we will be out there. I'm not making any plans for Coach Rankin after. I know people have been asking.
A lot of people ask.
And I'll give everybody the same answer on the show that I've been giving people during the week. We're not making him a press tour.
No.
We're not throwing any parades. But if Coach Rankin wants to go eat, he can go eat anywhere he wants to.
That's really my stomping grounds. When I was here,
Yeah.
I lived out in Morris. I lived out in that area
Okay.
in a little trailer back in the
Hey.
woods.
Hey, boys.
Yeah.
We run Morris.
We run that time.
Yeah.
You
The
could
Chamber of Commerce.
Just
of
so
Morris.
you know, you could probably be elected Mayor of Morrison if you wanted to move.
Yeah.
Hey, and there's actually an opening
Yeah,
right now.
there is.
Yeah.
Already the Ben Lomond Connect message board is going to get fired up. Josh Winfrey says, "Welcome back to Warren County. What an incredible career." Well, we're going to get into some of those details. Going to ask Coach what he's been up to. We're going to probably all kinds of other stuff, and I'm kind of starstruck.
Oh,
Guys,
it's the same way that I was with Coach Ensign
No
that
doubt.
night. I mean, you're just in a room with, he's just a flat out icon.
Yeah.
He's a flat out legend, and hey, we're just happy he's here. And
For sure.
if you'd have told us 2 years ago when we're sitting at a bunch of paneling that this is where we'd be, I said, nope, not gonna happen,
We
boys.
still got the paneling.
And so when I was at Riverdale,
Yeah.
and I just really, my career started getting started a little bit. I went and watched him practice some. I think that's one thing I did that maybe some coaches didn't do. I went to watch other guys that were successful. It didn't have to be a football coach, but I remember I went and watched them play in the state championship on a Saturday night in Murfreesboro, one of the many that he won. And I called him on Monday or something, and they said he's got the girls in the weight room working out. So this was Saturday night. I guess they were off Sunday, and they went right back to work. They went right back to work on Monday, and I remember telling them that you're already back in that weight room in 2 days. So, well, when he was in high school, they were loaded. They were so good in girls basketball, but well, he's one of the legends for sure.
That's how champions get built, right?
Yes.
there, Coach. I'm telling you, that's awesome, and we're going to get to all kinds of stories. Well, it's good that you brought up Insel, because we had Insel on as one of our very first shows when we went back out solo. Now we have Coach Gary Rankin here, and I was looking this up, guys. Trev, do you know how many Tennesseans are in the National High School Sports Hall of Fame?
I'm going to say 2.
2. Coach, do you know how many?
7.
7. There are 16, I believe.
17 now.
With Patrick Willis as
Patrick just went
Okay.
in
Yeah.
last month or two.
Yeah. Well, we've had 2 of them on our show now.
Check.
That's pretty good.
I don't know the
Clip that.
percentages off the top
Clip
of my head, but I think that, I mean, when we're sitting there talking, I didn't say, just so you know out there, I did not say Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, which also, congratulations, you're in the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame as well. But I'm talking about the National High School Sports Hall of Fame. I actually was looking at this. You were inducted in the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame in 2011, 2012, in that range?
Probably.
I was sitting there thinking, after that happened, you had the big run at Alcoa. You probably had a Hall of Fame career after you were inducted in the Hall of Fame. Like, you could have split your career up 2 different ways and probably had a Hall of Fame
The national
career.
one was, and I usually don't get caught up in those things too much. It's just not me. But it was a awesome experience.
Yep.
Going up there, they flew you to Boston. The banquet was unbelievable. Some of the people that they honored in that class were some great individuals. I know I was sitting there at the table and Joe Burrow walks by.
Oh, wow.
The quarterback. Well, his grandmama was being inducted.
Yeah.
The baseball player, I can't think of his name, catcher for the Twins for so long, Joe Mile, was being inducted. And some of the stuff on him, and the one thing I remember about him when they were talking about him, he batted like 480 times in high school and struck out once.
Wow, that's
They went over all these home runs and all this stuff, and then when they got to that, he struck out one time. And, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was all state in all 3 sports, but that figure, and I didn't get to ask him. I wanted to. Did he swing and miss, or was it a call strike? That's what I wanted.
We didn't dig to the heart of it on that one. Yeah, that would have been a great question. In fact, if I recall correctly, he was a really good football player. Didn't he commit to Florida State?
He was an all-stater in all 3 sports. A great athlete, and that banquet was just way over the top. It was something I wasn't expecting. Like I say, there's only 17 from the state. Now Patrick Willis, I guess, went in this past year. But it's a pretty big honor and a group that I'm glad to be associated with for sure.
Yeah, well, Coach, we really appreciate you being here, and we're going to jump right in to the show. We do last week rewind to start a little bit of the show. We're gonna update it a little bit for this week. But last week rewind is brought to you by our friends at Hot Corner Cards, Chris Cope and the guys. And you know what it is? Third week of the month, which means July 18th, Saturday, 8 a.m. from 2 p.m. at Warren County High School. You can go see the big card show rolling in with Upper Cumberland Cards, Hot Corner Cards, and also on Friday night, you can go see Thrower over there as well, though he'll be hosting the trade night as well. Again, Saturday, July 18th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Over 100 tables, over 70 dealers. It's $1 admission. There would be through in $300 in giveaways. You can call Joe Kalis if you ever want to get there, or just hit up Chris Cope. And again, too, trade night Friday, July 17th is 6 to 9 p.m. also at Warren County High School, and that one is free admission for anybody who's going there. Well, I want to take last week rewind. We're going to adjust it a little bit. Maybe like a last 6 months rewind.
Yeah.
Coach, you made a decision in February to step down at Boyd Buchanan, but we were noting before the show, nobody called it a retirement. So what have you been up to in the last few months?
Well, I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to close the door fully. I knew it was time to make a move and get out of the job that I was in. I've had some calls. It would take. I would go back. I still got some gas in the tank. Just whether I want to start the car or not. If it's a really, really good situation, I would certainly entertain it. And I've had a few calls and stuff, but I wasn't out actively looking for sure.
Yeah.
But if something pops up, there's a good chance that I would go back. I think I could go back for a few years, but I really do. I miss it in a way, but hopefully I can stay away from it. It's probably better for me if I can stay away from it. But I love to coach. I love being with those kids. Like I say, if I think I still got something to give, which I think I do. But we'll see if something comes open. If not, I've already been through schedules for this fall and circled some games I really want to see. That's one thing I missed, not only being a coach, but I've been a big fan of high school football. And, I like to watch games and different things, and just hadn't had a chance to do much of any of that in the last few years, being fortunate enough to play in a lot of state championship games. So, I've got some big games circled already. Baylor, Brentwood Academy play early. Two of the top teams in the nation play on Thursday night, I believe. And then Friday night, I think I'd circled Maryville and Alcoa, one of the biggest rivalries in the state of Tennessee and probably in the South. So I'm going to go through there and see if I can go watch some games and stay around the game a little bit.
I remember when you stepped away at Boyd Buchanan reading the article. You basically said you were going to give them about 3 to 5 years.
I did.
You did what you said you wanted to do. If you got back in, would you say, hey, would you say it's a 3 to 5 year? That's kind of what you would do.
Probably. I think it's fair to the school and fair to the kids. Now, it's a little bit different. It used to be a saying, a rule or whatever. When you took over a program, by the 3rd year, you need to see some improvement, or they've probably hired the wrong guy. Nowadays with the transfer rule the way it is, it's possible to go places and get pretty good overnight if you're at one of those places that can draw kids. And the transfer rule now in high school, to me, has gotten out of hand a little bit, but it's almost like college. I mean, you don't have to build as much, and you can get good quickly, if you get the right kids coming there. And a lot of kids are shopping around, a lot of kids are looking around, and I don't think it's the best situation for our sport, but that's where we are right now.
Yeah. Well, Coach, the first thing I heard as he was talking about having a little bit more gas in the tank was I just saw like 200 ADs that were probably watching this that just wrote down his name on their short list in case 2026
I'm going to tell you,
go
if it was only 200 ADs, there's about 350 that probably need to be looking for a job tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Trev, go ahead.
Hey,
man.
it's talking about that with the career you built. When I was, looking at the records and things, you were in a lot of different communities for a long time. And one thing that I kept thinking about was would you go about building a new staff in a new community? Would you bring guys with you? Did you have connections? How would you go about building a brand new staff when you get to a new school?
Well, it's hard. When I went to Alcoa, I didn't bring anybody. But you're talking about a small school with 400 kids, limited number of teachers, and people think you just bring coaches with you at all these places now. You got to have teaching spots for them if you want them on staff. Now, they have the volunteer rule now where you can used to could just use 2 guys from the community. Y'all could be on my staff. You could be on the staff. It wouldn't matter. Now it's unlimited situation, which it had to be because the pool of coaches was shrinking a little bit, but the pool of teachers is shrinking a little bit too. So it wasn't as easy. It's not as easy these days to go out there and grab, but most schools and, a place like Warren County, a place like Riverdale, some of those bigger schools have big turnovers. But at Alcoa, we were so fortunate. It was a good school system, one of the better paying systems in the state. We just didn't have any teaching positions. Their coaches called me the other night. They got a science position open. They're looking for a coach, but that doesn't happen many times. The smaller the school, it's hard to get coaches in. But the volunteer situation is an opportunity that you can get. That's a lot easier if you're in a big town like Chattanooga. I could get all the coaches I wanted, volunteer coaches. Here at Warren County, you're it's a little bit smaller. You don't have the college. I'd always use some college guys that just graduated from playing and did the same thing basically at Alcoa and Riverdale. But it's a little bit of an issue to build your staff like you wanted, get the people that you want. You know, Georgia's a little bit different football talk than Tennessee. You go down there and they offer you a job, well, they'll say, yeah, you can bring 4 people with you. You don't get that situation in Tennessee much.
Well, that sounds like a little bit of roots for success right
Yeah,
there.
maybe,
Terry. What do you think
yeah.
about that? Hey, for Circle J Tree Farms, root for success. Just like the strongest trees don't grow overnight, neither do the great athletes. This segment shines a spotlight on the players, coaches, and teams whose hard work, commitment, and perseverance are paying off. Here's this week's Circle J Tree Farm roots for success. Coach, you've had the long, legendary career, but you brought up Warren County a few times there, and I know that there's people out there right now thinking, what was it like? When did this kind of start developing? I mean, you came here in the 70s, you know, and ended up launching into this fantastic career. What was it like when you were here in Warren County?
You know,
building
it all started here. I
Yeah.
mean, this was the first game I ever coached was in Warren County. You know, I was in college at UT. I played football at UT. Got hurt pretty bad my sophomore year. Couldn't play anymore, but I was still around the team, around the players, and a couple guys named Stan Mitchell from Sparta. I don't know if you're familiar with that name, and Steve Mitchell. Stan was a great player, played for Miami Dolphins. I think they were coaching here then, and they were. And Steve was a friend of mine at UT, and he came in one day and he graduated and he was down here coaching, and he called me one time and said, "What are you going to do when you get out?" And I said, "I don't know. I know I want to work with kids. I want to be in that field somehow." And he said, "Why don't you come down and coach?" And Stan and Steve Mitchell was here, Ed Cantrell, I believe. And I needed a job. I didn't have that thing, well, I'm going into football and I'm going to do this. I was really hungry. I needed money.
Yeah.
You know, I needed a job, and I knew Steve and I knew Stan a little bit, and didn't know anybody else in Warren County, nobody, and came down and took a job coaching here. So that's how it started. Was here for 6 or 7, 8 years, I guess, and really some really good football during those times too. There was a year that I felt we probably had the best team in the state.
Yeah.
What was it, I don't know what it was, 80, 79, 80,
80.
80, 81. Went to Oak Ridge and played in the semis and should have won. I mean, Jeff Womack, who I consider one of the best players to ever play here, certainly in the top 5, and he went to Memphis and had a career there until he got beat up a little bit. You know, end of the game, Jeff goes over top on the 1-yard line and falls in the end zone with seconds left in the game, and boy, they run in there and spot it on the half-foot line real quick.
Coach Bennett brought the
Coach-
same
yeah.
story up yesterday.
You know, and
James
it
was
was.
in here
I mean, there was
yesterday
no,
saying the same
and I'm not a official basher. I'm not a complainer, but I mean, he went up and over and literally landed in the end zone, and they come in there and spot that thing on the half-yard line. I don't know if we ever got another playoff, but that was for the state championship game for sure. Oak Ridge won it the next week, 28-0, beat somebody up pretty good, but that was one of the best teams that I've been around. Randy Mulligan, a lot of guys are still around here. Randy Mulligan, Martin guys, Womack, Big Baby. I don't think he's around there, but that was a football team that was loaded with a lot of good players. Yeah. You know, we beat Oakland 55-0 one week, and turned around 2 weeks later and beat Riverdale 45-0. I mean, we were really, really good there for a few years, and it was just an enjoyable time. It sort of got my juices flowing. You know, we were so successful. It's something that I thought I wanted to do. And Bobby Newby, I know y'all know that name.
Oh, yeah.
Know Bobby.
Yeah.
He came on, I guess, a year or two after I had been here, and he was a great football coach. Hard-nosed, probably the hard-nosed, toughest, probably meanest football coach I've been around. And, you know, I learned a lot of lessons from him, most of them good, a couple bad ones. But we had a good staff, Bobby Hale, Bennett, you know, and we just had a good bunch. It was enjoyable, learned a lot of lessons, and you know, we were really good those years.
Everybody, I mean, when you talk about that, the message board's blowing up because those brings back great memories. At some point in time, you said, "Hey, I'm going to branch out and I want to become a head coach." I believe Smith County the first head coaching job you applied for?
Everything to me has always been, and it's why went to Boyd and probably why I'm leaving Boyd, but everything's been based on family with me.
Okay.
It had something to do with this is the best thing for our family. When I was at Warren County, I'd been away. You know, I'd been in college for 5 years and barely got out in 5. Been away from my parents, came here for 6 or 7 years and been away from my parents. So I really hadn't been around them much. They were getting older, and the Smith County job came open, and I thought it was a chance. I probably wasn't ready. Probably didn't need to be a head coach. I was only 28 or 29, and at that time that was big.
Yeah.
Nowadays you can get a coach. You know, there are coaching jobs out there everywhere.
Yep.
Back in those days, you didn't get a job. You had to put in your time. You had to do what you had to do, and but Smith County was one of the worst football programs in the state at that time. I can remember when I at one time seeing a preseason ranking of the teams in Tennessee, and back then everybody's together, privates, publics, everybody, and I think it was 334 teams in the state of Tennessee, and they had them ranked. I remember NBA was the first one, and I remember Sunbright. I didn't even know where that was at that time. Sunbright was the 334. And 333 was Smith County. That's how bad they were. Because I remember the guy calling me that did that thing after I'd been there a while, and I said, "Man, I can tell you one thing, we were overrated. We should have been the last one. Somebody had to be much better than
I'm glad you brought that up because of and I think we can joke a little bit this. I've looked at his career over the last couple of days. It's just remarkable.
Yeah.
But his first year when you came to Smith County, you just talked about it. When you
awful.
walked in, it was not a good job.
It was terrible. And I remember my daddy, who was sort of tough love, hard nosed guy, called me and said, I don't think you need to pull out of this job. I don't think you want this job. And I said, Daddy, it's a time for me to come back. Can't do bad. I mean, they're terrible. Everything's going to be working on the way up. And I said, and anyway, I'm not going to get that. You don't hire 28, 9-year-old guys to be your head coach. And I remember him saying, well, I think you got a pretty good chance because as far as I know, you're the only fool that's applied for it. And that was the truth. I mean, nobody wanted it.
When you say that, you came into Smith County and you turned that around in 2 years,
You're
but
fast.
the first year
0-10.
was 0-10. How you're 28, 29 years old.
It was tough.
How did you, because we've talked about that before. You got to have some pretty thick skin in this deal. How did you not really overcome it because it's not a place that winning was a custom, but in 2 years you go from 0-10
But
to I
they
think
had
7.
one there before, and I think that's a key sometime. I think when you take over a program that has won before, somewhere back in the day, they had it. It was here.
Yeah.
It was different places. I think when you go that place that they've won before, you got a little bit better chance. You go to that place that's never won, because some of those parents were in that, some of those parents were there when you won. Their kids are playing now. They know what it was like. They know, when I see Warren County, listen, we fill the stands. We were on top of it when we were here. We would go off to play away games, and we had bigger crowds than they did. I mean, the backing at that time was unbelievable. And like I say, we had a good product. We put on the field, but football was big here, really big. And like I say, we had good players in a good situation. But I think if they've won there, you've got a chance. Smith County had won at one time. They had been pretty good. Now, they were in I'm probably the only coach in America that's at one time had the longest losing streak and at one time had the longest winning streak. I don't know if many people's been on, when you talk about being on both ends, I have definitely been on both ends of it. It was tough. We ended up, I remember practicing sometimes with 17, 18 players. I would have to stand a manager back at safety with a dummy just to have enough to go 2 teams and get a look. But we took our licks. I started a lot of freshmen, a lot of strange stories, a lot of strange things happened that first year. There was one game on our schedule we had a chance to win. I thought just one after I got in there and understood a little bit. And I think the Thursday morning before we were playing them, it was Macon County. They were bad too. But I thought we had a chance to win that game. And Thursday morning I get a call, our starting quarterback, our backup quarterback's daddy had been shot at 4:30 in the morning by somebody in the house, and there wasn't nobody there but family. So it was just a unbelievable Thursday day. And the most unbelievable thing about that story is his mom called me on Friday morning, and I'd already been to his house and did all those things, and she called me and wanted to know if he could dress out for the game, and it was a little shocking to me. His dad had just been murdered. I said, whatever's best for y'all, whatever's best for him, exactly. If he wants to dress, if he don't want to dress, if he wants to stand over there and whatever. But he wanted to dress for the game, and he was our backup quarterback. And we were warming up to go out for that game, and I hear a blood-curdling scream. I'm in the dressing room there back behind lockers, and lo and behold, our starting quarterback was taking snaps from the quarterback and broke his finger and could not play. Could not play. I had to take this kid that was on drugs. I mean, he was taking something for whatever you take when, and I had to start him and play him in that game, and we got beat. But I remember at the end of the game, as soon as the horn went off, he was so exhausted, so mentally, he just fell out on the field. And it was probably one of the most unusual stories and situations I'd ever been in. And we lost the game, of course, and that's the only one we had a chance at. But looking back, I'm probably glad we didn't win that game, because it just sounds a lot more impressive 0-10 and 1-9.
When you're talking about that, the next year, but you turn
Well,
it.
we had a lot of freshmen. We played with a lot of freshmen. I knew that. I didn't know anything when I got there. I knew two things. I knew you got to get strong, and I knew you had to be tough. And that's what we did. I was big in the weight room. We had a great weight program. I worked those kids hard. We got strong the second year, and part of that was probably a Bobby Newby thing. I stayed in the dead eye because that's what I knew. That's what I knew. That's what I'd been around my first coaching years. It's a tough offense. You're going to get tough whether you like it or not. And we were doing that, and our kids got tough. And the second year, I think we were 8-3 or something. We turned it around.
Yes.
And probably that was what maybe kick-started all this for me. That sort of got around Middle Tennessee that this guy's done something that wasn't supposed to be done. And that's probably how I got the Riverdale job later on. But the second year and after that, we took off. We were a playoff team. We ended up winning 50 or 60 games, and that's where it started. And that was my hometown. And then when I left there, I guess you could call it family. I was a girl. Had something to do with a girl who's my wife now. Thought Smith County was a small rural town, and it was.
She had it big.
She wanted a Kroger's at least. And that didn't draw me, but I mean, I got a call from Riverdale.
Yeah.
And just because we had turned that program around, a guy named Jimmy Earl, I think, see a magnificent guy.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
Yep.
And that's weird because when I got into the Riverdale thing, and I had no chance to get that job. They had 178 applicants. They were applying from Georgia everywhere. But Jimmy Earl had been to Smith County games with a friend of his who was officiating. And somehow the word got back from Jimmy Earl to our principal, who was Hewlin Watson. They were buddied up somehow through fishing or something. I don't know. But Jimmy Earls told him, if you're looking for a good young guy, I would look at this guy. I've been to a couple of his games. They're disciplined. They're tough. They're yak, 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 yak. So in a roundabout way, he probably had a little bit to do with me getting that job. I can't remember who his buddy was, but he had seen us play, and that's sort of, I think he had a word in on it at least. Roundabout way.
We're talking about roots for success.
Yeah.
We're talking about
He got his money's
the
worth on that one,
schedule
boys.
in there, and, getting into Smith County. And I also want to tell y'all a little bit. Let's get to the message board, which again is sponsored by Ben Lomond Connect. America turns 250 this summer. I actually already did. And at Ben Lomond Connect, they're celebrating red, white, and you through their customers' trust in BLC. They keep their customers' communities connected, streaming, gaming, working, and learning across thousands of homes. Now it's time to celebrate together from May through July. This is our last chance in July here. One random winner will be drawn each month, winning $250 in cash. You can email marketing@benlomond.org with any photo from your household and a quick note on how BLC has made a difference in your home or community. Again, happy birthday, America, and join BLC as they celebrate red, white, and you. Trev, Ben Lomond Connect, delivering that internet.
At the speed of life.
Ed Cantrell II is in our comment section. Said, love playing for Coach Gary Rankin, even middle school basketball. A lot of Go Pioneers going on in here. A lot of people saying, hey.
That's another story.
Darla Campbell said, my daughter lived on Maury Street in Alcoa. The high school was at the end of the street Friday nights. Hearing the band and crowd was awesome. Tim Wilcher says, remember all this well on there. So again, too, thanks for all the comments. Everybody get those in there. Keep hitting the share button and keep commenting for a chance to win those pair of season tickets.
Season tickets.
Season tickets and a
Where's
parking pass.
where's those games played in Unley?
They're playing at Nutley
Yeah,
Stadium.
we may get into that here in a little bit.
Into a little bit of Nutley Stadium talk before it's all said and done.
When I was here, I taught at the middle school. When I first got hired, of course, the high school director, we don't walk in, just whatever. Taught at the middle school, and I guess it was the second year I was here, maybe. I was getting comfortable. I was liking it, trying to do everything to please everybody, you know. Our principal came to me, and said, I need a favor. And I said, yes, sir. You know, jumped right on it. What do you need? Would you be interested in finishing out our middle school basketball season? And I said, I don't know anything about basketball. Well, you can go in there and okay. So long story short, whoever it was, I believe it was the Mitchell guy, I can't remember exactly, but somebody had gotten sick. Our middle school coach.
Paul Mitchell.
Paul
Mitchell.
Something happened to Paul or something, and he had to walk away from basketball. Middle school they just got started.
Yeah.
And they came to me, and you know, I was going to say yes no matter what. And I ended up coaching him a little bit, but I got a little lucky because we had a guy named Russ Spivey on that team.
You shot it pretty well.
So that sort of helped me a little bit. But we ended up winning the county championship and doing all this stuff. And I knew a little bit. I played a lot of sports, but I wouldn't consider myself a basketball coach. But we had some pretty good little athletes in Russ. And end up winning everything we could win the rest of that year. So I was a championship basketball coach at one time for 1 year.
Pretty good basketball coach. You knew who to throw it to.
Yeah, hey,
Give it to Russ.
What do we do, Coach? Throw it to him. Something about those good players making
really
good
helps.
coaches.
Really
Seems
helps.
like it helps out there. Message boards again. Don Lowry Watermaker said, my mother, Hilda Lowry, taught with Coach Rankin at the Warren County Junior High. And then Kimberly Smith Young said, junior high 7th grade teacher was Coach Rankin. So, I mean, a lot of people in the comment section. A lot of history in Warren County. We had James Bennett on the show yesterday. And, of course, he was coaching with you, ended up becoming principal at the high school. And, you know, we got to ask. You're here. That football job in Warren County's opened up, I don't know, a few times during your time.
Well, Coach Rankin, he just kind of said it earlier. You know, you get about 3 years. If you're 3 years in and it's not going well, you may not be the guy.
Yeah.
We might need to start using that.
Clip
you know
that.
what I mean? Clip that.
Put that one. It rolls. So Warren County's opened up. So how many times have you had to have been called on this job at some time?
Well, I was fortunate or unfortunate, man, I don't know, but I was in such a good place every time it came open. There wasn't a reason I wouldn't come back.
Yeah.
Because, like I say, I remember when I was here, and it was awesome.
Yep.
But I was in such good situations. I mean, Riverdale. When I was at Riverdale, we were one of the top programs in the state. It didn't make much sense to leave there for anywhere. And then Alcoa the same way. So I had some chances, but I guess I got fortunate to be in such good places that it was going to be impossible. And then, you know, people change jobs for different reasons. Mine, a lot of times had something to do with family. And, you know, I had some tremendous big paying opportunities in Georgia the last 15, 20 years. But, you know, my older son was playing. We had just won the second state. He'd won the second state championship at Alcoa, started some as a freshman and sophomore. And then I was he said, Daddy, you can go, but I ain't going. You know, he's sitting there with championships and a great program. So I couldn't go. I told my wife when I interviewed, I said, doesn't matter if they pay us $1 million. We can't go. You can't go. You know, we got kids here. And then my daughter became a cheerleader later on. And my younger boy, who just graduated from MTSU a year ago, he played for us, and he was a starting kicker at MTSU for years. So you just can't, you know, everything's not just jump and take this job. There's a lot of things it involves, and a lot of times when it's family, it gets pretty dicey. But we got lucky and been fortunate. But the Warren County job came open, and like I say, I hadn't have been in such great situations, probably would have entertained it at times.
Well, I was just say just the timing.
Yeah.
The timing, Trev.
Timing's
you could play
off.
for coach, man.
Yeah,
Timing-
that been, I, don't,
timing's-
I wouldn't have played, but we could have been out there.
You might have changed my thought process on playing
Yeah.
football if Coach Rankin was at the high school there. Hey, again, too, let's jump into under construction. If you're looking to build your dream home in Warren County, Ryan Lawrence Custom Homes is the premier choice, got it right, for quality, craftsmanship, and attention to detail. Whether you're starting from the ground up or bringing in visions alive, Ryan delivers homes built to last. You can give him a call today, 931-259-0023, and start building something truly yours. Trev, you got the read now,
Yeah,
man. You can
that's
do
all
You got
you.
this?
It's all
You
you.
can go through it there.
That's why Coach pays you the big
Oh,
bucks.
yeah, I appreciate that. Well, hey, Coach, you were talking about it, and I mean, is there ever a time when you're looking on the outside in Warren County, was there ever a time where you're like, look, I can't, I'm not leaving Riverdale or I'm not leaving Alcoa, but if anybody was ever asking, was there ever any advice you would have given Warren County to, because like you
Well,
said,
I told
you
them
were
every time they call me, and I do this with all the schools, that, you know, if you're successful, it's not just me, but if you're successful, you're going to get some calls, of course. And I'm always trying to be as professional as I can and nice as I can and tell them I'll help them.
Yep.
You know, because bottom line is some of these principals, and I'm not saying here a lot of schools, they don't know the coaches. And you can come in sometime around the table and you can be great in an interview.
You can
and
win the
still-
interview.
and still not be able to get out on the field and coach. That's just a known fact. So I think history and how successful that person's been. But I remember telling them time and time again, not here, but a lot of places, you know, if you get some candidates, and I have gotten response, if you get down to 3 or 4 candidates and you call me, I'll give you my honest opinion now. And I know most of the coaches, there's some I didn't know, but I knew a lot of guys, and, you know, I would give them, you know, what information I thought was important. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, someone just asked it in the comment section too. Ben Loma Connect said, "How many of your assistants got head coaching jobs?" I mean, we're talking about branches of
a
branches.
bunch. I mean, there was an article out in some paper a month or 3 or 4 months ago,
Yeah.
Murfreesboro paper,
Yeah.
about the coaching tree. And I knew we had some out there, but I really didn't know. It didn't hit me until we got it on paper and had to do a little research. There was 17, 18 maybe it's been head coaches, but a lot of that started at Riverdale because we were so good and we had a big staff. And I think it's like anything else. You get in there and you have fun. You're really successful. I think it could be any kind of business. People want to migrate to that and stay in that. So a lot of assistants I had at Riverdale, and like I say, through the success, and we had a ball there. We had a great staff, great chemistry, won a lot of games, had great support. A lot of those guys got that in their blood, and they just wanted to, you know, to do that and had that feeling of what it's like to be around a really good program. So been fortunate. I mean, I know Saban, they compared it to, but, you know, you've been around him, you've been around some of the great stuff, the great games, you know, people want to migrate from that and go on their own and do those things. So I'm really proud of that. You know, I got what hat's on. I think it's, what is it, Christian Brothers?
Christian Brothers.
There was a debate at my house what I wore when I left today. You know, I'm not really affiliated with anybody, so I'm trying to wear stuff that some of my guys are at. But, you know, we've got them out at different places and a lot of good programs.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Do any other under construction for Warren County that we want to ask Coach? You had one, I think, before the show that you were thinking about.
Well, you were talking about it, Coach, with, you know, Coach Blue came over,
Yeah.
who's doing a really good job at
And I
Warren.
know Blue, he played my older son at Tech.
Played your older
I know
son.
he was a great player in high school.
I think you coached against or had some games against his father over times. Y'all had a
I think
conversation.
he's at Columbia, I believe.
Yes, he was.
Coach Blue, and I'm going to take the heat for this.
Go ahead.
But it was brought up about a stadium, and I think that you
Somebody's
made a they were talking about that a stadium is something that has been talked about.
Yes.
We put the renderings and photos and those type things out, and I'm not going to speak for Coach Rankin. I'll let him talk, but he had some opinions on when it comes to a football program, a stadium. Where do you think a stadium needs to be, Coach?
Well,
Needs
I
to be
thought
on.
and I think I don't remember for sure, but it was on my mind when they built that new school. I think I called somebody that was on the board or something. I still had some
Connections.
And I think when I heard they weren't going to do that, I called somebody and said, y'all need to think about this, I think. You need your stadium at your school. And it's not just football, it's a school stadium. A lot of things go on there, you know. I thought it was a mistake when they didn't build the stadium there. And I think if they get a chance to put one there, they should certainly do that. Like I say, I didn't understand it when it happened. Of course, they had played over here with all those years and stuff, but I think you need it. I think it's something that you just about got to have if you're going to build your program the way you want to build your program. And I haven't been in, well, I was in this stadium 3 or 4 years ago for something. They had some kind of reunion.
Yeah, I think it might have been Jeff Walnuck's retirement, jersey
No.
retirement.
No, it was. I think it was the 1980
Oh,
team,
okay.
if I'm not mistaken. You
And
guys came back.
Had the good running back. What's his name?
C.J. Taylor.
Yeah.
CJ
Yep.
was playing
Yeah.
that night. I hadn't
Yes.
seen him play, but we were off for something, and I got to come and participate in that. It was honoring the team or something. But I haven't seen that stadium much. I know it's old and stuff, but I just really think they should think about that if they get a chance. Like I say, somebody sent me something on email or something, and I filled it out, made a comment or two, and I don't know if it got back to these people or not, just what I felt and what I thought. But I think it's pretty vital that you have it too.
You got a mic where I can drop it, Connie. Just let Coach, just let
that's
Coach
funny.
Rankin drop it.
That
You
might
get
be
it.
clear.
I mean, you get them sometime like that. Sometimes those are multi-stadiums. Warren County's got to play there. East got to play there. West School's got to play there. You know, that makes a little more sense. But, you know, this is Warren County. This is one high school, one town, and I think they need the stadium for sure.
Yeah.
He carries a little bit more weight than me.
Well, well, not only that, but I mean, you've been involved in athletic programs not only as a football coach, you've been in administration. You've done these things like you know what a football stadium means to a school beyond just Friday nights. I mean,
Right,
it's
right.
such a gathering ground. For
Oh, it is a
everything.
gathering ground, and hopefully they can get that done one of these days. But I sure think it's vital.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people also chiming in the Ben Loma Connect message board talking about playing against Riverdale back in the day. Drew Walker said playing against Riverdale was brutal back in the late 90s. Justin Taylor said Eric Locke was nasty. You missed Gerald Griffin my freshman year. He was elite on that. So, I mean, Coach, we've had a lot of people have asked us in here, and this might be a good time to just go right into the locked in segment here on the Warren County Sports Authority. And I was just going to ask, when it comes to being locked in, and again, look, the lock shop, Ryan, with Rob Williams.
Rob
yeah.
Williams.
I don't have it right in front of me, so I don't have to be able to read it out there. The lock shop gets you back in, and we'll get a little bit more to that. But Eric Locke, obviously, you have had so many great players. Like when you lock in across the board out there, like how many of these players?
When you mentioned Gerald Griffin,
Yeah.
Probably one of the top 3 athletes that I've ever coached. Gerald was tremendous. He had his motor didn't run full all the time. It's something I would say to his face and stuff. But he was a tremendous. You know, went to UT, played some. Eric was just the opposite. Eric was one of the hardest working guys that I've ever been around since I've been coaching. He would come up during the season on Sunday. We'd have meetings and stuff, and I'd pull in back in there sometime, and he'd be out there running sprints. That was back in the day. I guess Eric was one of the first few players or families I knew that was, I guess they call it shopping around. Of course, that's a while back, and kids, you know, you stayed where you were. But Eric's dad, Juicy Locke, I know y'all have heard that name, maybe know him. I don't know. I did know him, but he was a tremendous player at Cookville at one time. When Eric got to the point where he was fixing to go into high school, I don't know if the Cookville program was as good as they wanted it to be, maybe, and he wanted him possibly in a better program, because I knew his name, but I didn't know him, and they showed up at our school one day at Riverdale, and he was quite frank. He said, we're coming here, we're going to Lebanon High School. Lebanon had a good program at that time, or I think the third one might have been Galton. He said, we're entertaining 3 schools, and that's where I'm going to take my son to play. I want him to yak, but somehow they ended up at Riverdale, and Eric was a tremendous player. You know, went to Alabama and played quickly, but one of the greatest, hardest workers I've ever had. I remember we were in a team meeting one Sunday after we had played, and we were really good, and we were getting ready for somebody, and I was up on the board. Saying, look, if they do this and they do that and they bring 4 off the edge and we're in passing situation, we got a problem. And I remember he spoke up and he said, "Nah, coach, they got a problem." Because the worst thing you could do was chase him out of there sometime, So he was he was one of the best, and I didn't even understand it first. He said, "No, they got a problem," and I think, "Am I missing something here?" But he meant he would take off, and things usually were good when he took off. But just a great kid. He was a great kid, a great player for us. One of the best players that I've ever coached. I think he may still, there may be one now, I'm not sure, but at one time we had just won the state championship. And I remember the coaches were standing over there and the MVP was fixing to be announced. And one of my offensive coaches said, "Well, Eric's got to be the MVP." And I said, "Yeah, probably so." And then one of the defensive coaches said, "Are you talking about on offense or defense?" Because he had played really, they about got to arguing there for a minute. And they read it out. Offensive MVP Eric Locke, and then these guys were our coaches were joining each other, and then they read out defensive MVP Eric Locke. So he got both of them in one game, and I don't know if that's been done again. Yeah. Just a tremendous little player, and went to Alabama and played. Started, played some, a lot of receiver stuff, and I think his daddy got overzealous there a little bit and wanted to go here and do this. I don't know, but. He was certainly a good one.
You bring up then those Riverdale in the comments. They're bringing up this player after player.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, at Riverdale, Coach Rankin just built a dynasty with players and state championships. But one game that sticks out, and I want his thoughts because I think a lot of people in Warren County is going to remember this. I think you got to Riverdale about 1990. Is that correct?
First year, yeah.
In 1994, I believe you played Warren County.
Oh.
And I think it was on a Thursday night. And I think you played it. The game was played at MTSU.
We played all our games at MTSU.
It was a Thursday night game because I think you
we
and
had
Oakland,
to play Thursday some because we shared a stadium. With
Oakland,
mm-hmm.
And I think that's the famous game that I've always said was one of the first games that allowed people to say, "Hey, we probably need a mercy rule. This clock needs to run."
It got bad.
You beat Warren County 72-0. And I was a Warren County guy, and for some reason we had come in from college from the University of Tennessee where it may have been a holiday type weekend.
Yep.
But we're down there Thursday night, and as a Warren County guy, everybody knows I've coached there. Yeah. But at one time, it's about 55 in the middle of the third quarter, and it's kind of like the Larry Bird playing the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
You know how the Hawks bench is? Yeah. I was kind of thinking, hey, man, let's see if he can get to 80, maybe 85 or 90. When they got to 70, you're like, hey, maybe they can get to 81, 72 to 81. There were some people that night I do not think that were real happy with that score.
Probably couldn't, unless something was going on. That's not me.
Yeah.
I've not. We've. My biggest thing through my coaching career is play a lot of guys. Yeah. Now some people, and I think when you get that, and I don't think anybody would ever say that about me. You get that thing put on you about he runs the score up on people. Well, what that tells me is you don't care about them other kids. And I was on the end of that at Smith County where people. And I understood that. Now, there's coaches I'd like to beat 1,000. But I've had my coaches come to me. I forgot what it was. Somebody did something to us one year at Riverdale, and my coaches. We had our Thursday meeting, and they said, "Coach, we need to tell you something." And it was all of them. I thought, "Oh God, what's happening?" We need to beat the crap out of them tomorrow night. I'm Coach so and so, Coach so and so, Coach so and so. And I said, well, that sounds good. I like to beat him up good too. But what about those kids? Because that's really who you're beating up on. It ain't me beating up on no coach. But and I don't have any respect for people who do that. I don't know if there's some that's still out there, but it and I know there'll be a consistency question here at some point in time. How have you kept consistency over 40 years?
Yep.
But I've always, I had two objectives, and it'd be the same if I was coaching tonight or anywhere. Win the game, play as many kids as I can, because that's the only way, and it's probably more so now because football is such a tough game to play. Your numbers are going down. If I'm not playing football, I don't know if I'm staying. It ain't worth it to stand over on that sideline and get your head beat in all during the week in practice and never get into games. So I think I understood that maybe a little bit before. I always tried to play a lot of JV games. You got to keep kids playing and keep them involved. And we even looked at it on Friday nights or during the week for Friday nights. Can we get so many kids in on the kick teams? One year we had a kid at Alcor that kicked it in the end zone every time. And when we met in pre-fall, I said, I'm going to put the kickoff team up there. And I put up this guy, and Joe Jones and Jimmy Jones and all these guys up there. And they were terrible football players. Terrible. One of them daddy on Chick-fil-A, one of them on Kroger's, everywhere we get our fruit and our biscuits and all that stuff. So we because they never had to do anything but run down the field. But their parents didn't know that. They thought they starting on the kickoff team, and they were. But if he'd ever missed one,
We did trouble.
Yeah.
gone.
But when I bring that up, this is one, and
Frank
Coach
Fisher.
Fisher,
Fisher's
he's not real happy with me right now. But I bring that up for this reason. I think that was one of the times where I started realizing how the gap, because to get to Riverdale's level,
Yeah.
you had to come up their level. Riverdale was never coming down. Other teams started figuring out, hey, we've got to hire better people.
I think Riverdale helped Middle Tennessee football get better.
Yep.
Because we were one of the first ones. I had 12 coaches. I had 6 on offense, 6 on defense. All you had to do is go out and find them. Some of them, and we used to play Gallatin all the time, scrimmage gym, and they'd have 4 or 5 coaches over there. And some of the teams in our county. But we had enough personnel. And my third thing I always wanted to make sure we did was coach every kid. I didn't want 30 kids standing over and not getting coached every day. And I can promise you the worst kids on our football program or on our team was getting coached just as much as the Jeff Womicks and all those guys. And I wanted to make sure, and I think that's consistency-wise that really helped us. But talking about that gap, and I've noticed it probably 5 or 6 years ago, or, you never saw scores like that back in the day.
No.
Right.
You didn't see that. You didn't see somebody beat. Now, I promise you this fall, if you'll open the paper up and look at statewide scores, you'll see a bunch of 70-0, 68-7. You see these massacres. And somebody called me one time and wanted me to answer why was that, and I didn't know. But the more I looked at it and the more I thought about it, if you saw a 7 back then, that was a big thing. I'm sure
it was big.
I'm sure everywhere.
It was one of the biggest reasons it was that big because it was on a Thursday night. It was the only football game being played.
And that don't look right. And you didn't see that back then. It just didn't happen like that. But like I say, nowadays you open it up on Saturday here in a couple of weeks, and you'll see 30 of them, 40 of them. And what I think has happened after I've thought about it for weeks and weeks. Football's so tough. You used to have those middle of the road teams that were always 5-5, 6-4, and they were just hanging in there and enough. There's some schools around here that were like that, and it was enough to keep those kids out. But when they started, you started losing, and you started going. You go 1-9, 1-8. All of a sudden, you're gonna find those kids not out there. And I think what's happened, you had those real good teams. You had the Riverdale. You had those middle of the road teams, and you had some poor teams. But I think those middle of the road teams have disappeared, and they've become the bottom feeders now. And you got the good ones, and you got the bad ones. That's not total everywhere. But I think that's why you're seeing so many of the scores. The mercy rule was great. I've done it. We've taken penalties. I begged the official call holding on us one night at the end of the game. We were going to score. We had our third bunch in there. It was so bad. And we've tried to, find ways to keep the score down. I don't even think after 50-0 or whatever, they should put the score up on the scoreboard. It's okay if you score. You don't have to flash it up there, But I think that's the reason you see so much of that massacre now. And I think the run rule now is 30, actually. It should be. It should be. But you just see so much of that now, and programs disappearing.
Do you think that's from the transfer rule that we're like? When did that start?
That started back 10 or 12 years ago. I don't think it had anything to do with the transfer rule then. It had something to do with those middle road teams were starting to end up 1-9 and 2-8, and kids, You know, you're not going to stay out there for that.
They're just not coming and playing because
I got
they don't see the end goal of being out there for 4 years at 2-8.
And football practice is hard.
Yeah.
You can have fun at baseball practice some. You can have fun at basketball practice. Football practice, and I think that's one of the things coaches try to do now is make it a little, but it's tough. It's tough and it's hard practice. If you don't have a reward, you bet like any other job. If you don't have some kind of reward out there, I don't know. I may go work at a different place or I may do something else. So you got to make sure you got a product that's good for kids. Good for kids.
Kids got to lock in, man, when you go up there. Locked In segment again, brought to you by the Lock Shop right here in McMinnville. Whether you're dealing with your home, your business, or your vehicle, they're the folks you call when you need fast, reliable help. They've been the hometown locksmith since 1996. Bonded, certified, and licensed, so you know the job's getting done right. Give them a call at 473-4216. They're out. That's 473-4216. And to let the Lock Shop get you back in. I know there's been a lot of people that were asking about that Eric Locke kind of got us started on that one, and also, many names that are thrown out there. And I don't like someone just said who pound for pound who's the best. I think Josh Winfrey asked on the Ben Lomond Connect who's the best football player you've ever coached. I mean at this point that list is probably I bet that's not like a top 1. There's probably a top 20.
Let me back up and say something about running the score up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bobby Newby did it one night.
Oh yeah.
I was on his staff. Bobby wasn't in it. We went to play Lebanon High School, and we were the favorite. We were really good.
Yeah.
We were the favorite, and right before the game, they're warming up and stuff, and we see ambulances, we see all this crazy stuff going on, and their head coach had a heart attack.
Oh wow.
So, I mean, we've got to go back over on our sideline, get on the knee, break our warm-ups up, do all this, and we wait and wait and wait. Finally, they load this cat up, and they take him off. And we go in. They said, we're still going to play the game, yak. We come back out, and we're on the sideline, get ready to send the captains out. They've got their team. All of a sudden, you hear this sort of a roar, and here comes that guy that had a heart attack, their head coach. He's running underneath the goalpost out to the middle of the field doing some of this stuff, trying to get his trying to get his squad. This guy was faked it.
That's the greatest story I've ever heard.
And he came out, and I'm sure Coach Bennett, some of you can remind you. All of a sudden, he's healed. He's healed, and he's going to rally this bunch that probably didn't have a chance. I mean, they were okay, but I mean, it teed Bobby Newby off. He was so mad. I think we ended up beating him 69-0. But that was a case where somebody was going to pay because it threw us off, and it was about as unprofessional. Now that guy was I found out later he was a card. He wasn't there but a year or two.
Well, the best part about that, the big feedback with that was yesterday, James Bennett sitting in that seat, and he says, he said the best Bobby Newby story he ever said was he went to a scout
with Lebanon
and drone it, and he said it was at Lebanon. He said he watched one quarter, and Bobby Newby said Bobby Newby got up and said, I've seen everything we've seen. So he goes, we hadn't seen them punt, we hadn't seen them kick, we hadn't done that. He said, that team can't beat us. We left. He smoked them 69-0.
Oh, I remember he was mad. And I was young. I didn't know. I thought it was pretty stupid stuff, but I didn't. Wow. It didn't rattle me, but it rattled him. True story. True story.
Trail. Try that sometime, Mr.
I don't know about that.
Beat the underdog.
He's telling
Take the
that
heart
story,
attack.
and I'm like, man, we're going to beat the team, and their coach just had a heart attack.
I was trying to figure out why we were going to run it up on him after the coach had a heart attack. And then, man, what a curveball that
one of the weirdest things in my career.
I don't even know.
You didn't keep that in the back pocket for if you were an underdog?
You should write like
a book.
A bunch of books.
Yeah. I could write a book. That's good enough for many years.
Go ahead.
We're going to go on to buy and sell, and I want you to do this because I've got a couple buys and sales because I know he's been through a lot of how the TWSAA has transitioned for the last 40 years.
All right. Well, hey, listen, buy or sell. Let's talk about it. If If you're making the right investment off the field, the buy or sell segment is brought to you by Daryl Cook with First Mortgage. Buying or refinancing can be overwhelming if you don't know what to expect, but when you've got someone walking you through every step, it gets a whole lot easier. If you're ready to get started, give Daryl a call at 931-743-5563 or shoot him an email at dcook@fnbmt.com. That's Daryl Cook, NMLS number 2359079 at First Mortgage, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Do you want me to ask my buy or sells, or you want to ask?
I want you to ask yours, and I'm gonna ask.
All right. Well, here's my first buy or sell, and we'll ask the whole table, but obviously asking Coach on this one. By 2030, would you buy or sell that we have the same or more classifications in Tennessee high school football?
I'd hope that we would have less.
So we're selling it.
I would hope that we would have less. We have too many.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything. And if you go back and you look at just the state championship football games from this past year, they were awful. I mean, there was 55 to 14s, and I can't remember all of them, but there was only one or two out of 8 games, competitive games. Got to be a reason for that, because it's never been like that. Never been like that. And I think that has something to do with the transfer rule, the way they got it right now. But it was a total, and I saw most of them, it didn't look like state championship games at all. So I would hope that, Tito's AA, and I'm a Tito's AA guy. I know it's a tough job. It's like being assistant principal sometimes. People just gripe about stuff. They never give you credit for anything good. They have a tough job, and it's probably gotten tougher. But I think we got to tighten the screws a little bit. We got to make some changes. And, you noticed all the schools that are on probation right now, and y'all probably don't keep up with that.
Yeah.
They slap them on the wrist, fine them. They fine them $1,000 and take away 5 spring practice days, which we probably shouldn't have spring practice anyway. But if you notice, every one of them have been a coach texting a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, there's there's programs out there paying kids, paying parents, putting up rental stuff. It's just happening whether you like it or not. And most of those self-reporters, a lot of them got bodies buried in the backyard. They're going to self-report to keep anybody from going out back in there. But I'm not a big self-reporting guy. If we don't get a handle on it, it's another reason I might stay out of football. It probably hadn't happened here because you're not, but in the big cities, in the places, there's so many schools that are breaking rules, and it's a win at all cost. Yeah. It's a win at all cost situation, and I hope there'll be smaller classes. The public-private split had to happen because the privates, and I've been there for a little bit. So many more advantages as far as economics and that kind of stuff, facilities. You'd be shocked at some of the facilities in some of these schools now. But I hope there's less classifications. There should be, and I think it promote our sport a lot better.
Okay, you brought it up. We talked about it with Coach Ballou earlier in the week. He's in the same agreement. I think a lot of coaches are saying, hey, we need to go to less classifications. Yep. This has not worked. How do you make those changes? I guess what I'm saying is if they're giving Coach Gary Rankin the ball, what's the first thing that you want to do to somehow put a genie back in the bottle that seems from basketball coaches and football coaches I'm talking to, like you said, you get to the Murfreesboro and the Nashville and I'm sure the Knoxville and Chattanooga area, you've dealt with it with Macaulay and Baylor and these type things. What's the first thing you think you have to do to kind of put a stop to some of the nonsense that's out there?
Well, I think an example was the state championship games. It was shocking to me. You got to have some guts to make those decisions. You got to have some strong leaders in those leadership positions to make those calls. The bottom line is you can't please everybody. Y'all know that. Mm-hmm. You just can't. But you got to see what's best for the sport overall. I think next year in basketball, and I'm a sports guy. I watch them all. I like them all. I think next year in the state tournament, I think in basketball they may take the teams and pair them a little bit.
Max prep
You know,
'em.
there's
Yeah.
no need for, these are the two best teams out of the 8. Why are they playing first round? So I think they're going to try to, what do you call it?
They're just seed them.
Yeah,
Seed 'em.
seed them.
Yep.
Seed them a little bit and make that. You can't do that in football right now, but I think there's things that we need to look at and look at other states. I think Georgia does a good job with their transfer rules. You transfer one time, and I think it's that way now in Tennessee. You can transfer one time. After that, it becomes an issue. But they have these hardships. There's always things you try to get away with. But our sports getting a little stinky, getting a little nasty, and there's not any loyalty and respect between coaches like there used to be. It used to be an honor system, and it was pretty true back when I started in the first 25 years. You could trust Coach Ballou. I worked against him many times. Straight up, tells you he's going to swap 2 films, you swap 2 films. There's not any question. Nowadays, it's just there's so many things going on that I think hurts the sport. And part of it, and some of them are good and a lot of them aren't good, is these personal trainers. Probably don't get as much around here as you do in the cities.
Yep.
But these guys are getting all this personal training stuff. And they're telling these guys, if you'll keep, I can help you get a scholarship. I don't know if any guy that I've ever had that one of their trainers got him a scholarship. Never had a trainer come into our school and what's his grades? Don't say he's going, when he's made 14 on his ACT, and you're going to get him here and stuff. So there's just a lot of factors. It's just different than what it used to be. It's so much different. The whole philosophy of football, like I say, when I was here with Bobby Newby, it was such a physical game. There was one year we threw 29 passes the whole season. But the thing about that, 17 of them, and Randy Mulligan can probably tell you this, 17 of them were touchdowns.
He's still the single season leader in touchdown passes.
Oh, it was, we ran it so much when you looked up and threw it.
Yeah.
It's like Army, Navy, some of those things sometimes. You see them playing those great schools, and all of a sudden they got a receiver running wide open. But Newby was known for just power, strength, toughness. We were scrimmaging one day, and it was a really, really good scrimmage. And we brought another tight end, a younger guy in for something. I don't remember, but I was in the huddle, and Newby was calling plays, and when he spoke, everything was church quiet, church quiet. And all of a sudden, I hear a kid say, "Coach, Coach," and you could just hear the excitement in his voice. He said, "Coach, Newby, they got all of them on the line of scrimmage." He said, "No," he said, "they got 11 of them on the line of scrimmage. They got 11 of them on the line of scrimmage." This kid was almost panicking. And Newby looked at him and said, "Son, that's all they got." He didn't care. He said, "Son, that's all they got." And they were within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage, corners, safeties, linebackers, and we just kept running the football. But there again, back in the day when Jeff played, he broke so many long touchdown runs. And I asked Jimbo Fisher this same question one day. They all get up in there, and it's like those 4th and 1s you see even today. All of a sudden, there's a running back running wide open in the middle of the field, nobody around him. Well, back then, those guys were so close to us. When Jeff, one little missed tackle, one little mistake, and all of a sudden, boom, he's open field, and he's gone. And that sort of helped, I guess, his greatness or how great he was, because he broke so many long runs for a power football team that, and Jimbo Fisher said the same thing. I said, "What do you do when you get outnumbered in the box?" He said, "We don't do anything. When they miss a tackle, they got a problem."
Love that. Again, too, we're still in buy or sell. Daryl Cook, First Mortgage. Want to ask this one: do you still subscribe? Are you still buying or selling the old adage in football where offense sells tickets but defense wins championships?
I don't think there's any doubt. Football's changed so much now. It's a wide open game. And if you talk to the Sabans and the Kirbys and all those guys, it's a wide open game. You have to be able to tackle in space because they're going to get in space on you. Hypo, all of them. You're going to get in space, and you got to be able to. I think one thing that they'll tell you is your front four on defense have to be able to get pressure. If you can get those guys, but when you start bringing linebackers and doing all those things, and football's so sophisticated now, even the little 7th and 8th graders are RPOing it. This guy linebacker comes, I'm going to shoot it in here and all this stuff. And the colleges have gotten so good with that. When you bring pressure, and you're going to get one-on-ones, and you're going to get space, and you miss a tackle. And people ask me all the time we had a defense at Riverdale one year. I think it was 94, actually. It was 94. We gave up 45 points in 15 games.
That's crazy.
We scored 78 on defense. We scored more points on defense than we gave up. So figure that out.
Hey, they were pretty good that night.
And people talk about, is that the greatest defensive team you ever had? And it was. And it might have been one of the greatest ones in a long time. But the game has changed so much. That same defense, if it was playing today, would be dominant. But it's so spacey. One of these days, you're going to miss a tackle on a slant route, and he's going to break it. I don't care who it is. Back then, if you saw 4 wideouts, it was 3rd and 25. It wasn't first down, let's go. So the game's changed so much. It was much easier to play defense back then than it is now.
You bring up an interesting point there, okay? So the game has changed drastically. Everybody knows that. Does your style of coaching change? And I don't mean as far as how you're coaching kids, but you're putting a kid in a one-on-one situation, and at some point in time, that young man is going to make a mistake. He's going to miss a tackle. Do you coach him different now because of how the game is played?
Well, I mean, you got to make sure you're matching personnel where you need them. Like I say, you better practice tackling in space. You better make sure you can do it, even on the high school level. And the quarterbacks are gotten so good in the last, 15, 20 years,
Yep.
all this individual training. And I do think quarterbacks can get a lot of individual training. So other positions, I'm not sure, but you got so many of them are so good now. It used to be California and Florida where the weather was different. They threw it around all year. That's where you were getting your quarterbacks for these colleges. And I think it's another thing is you see quarterbacks going into freshman year of college now, they can tear it up.
Yeah.
Because they've been doing it for 4 years, and they've thrown so much. These 7-on-7 passing leagues, and I'm in favor of that, but I don't want to get AAU basketball-ish.
Are you concerned about that?
Yes, a little bit for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I think it's good to a point, and TLSAA can control that a little bit. But I've been at schools where kids would rather play AAU basketball and play on the high school team. When you can get on a bus and drive to Florida and play 2 games and hang out on the beach 6 hours and go out places to eat, it's fun. It's fun. We don't do this at Warren County High School. We play our games and maybe a Christmas tournament we'll go to Nashville or something. But these AAU teams, they go wherever. Some of them are flying now. I mean, it's fun, and it takes away a little bit away from high school sports. But it's just totally different. The way I coach them hadn't changed any. I'm pretty demanding. I've always thought that in high school, don't lose the game. That's been a big thing of mine. And I don't have stats completely, but in the last 25 years, I only know of one game we've given away. And that was to Austin East. We gave a football game away. We had mistakes, and it wasn't anywhere close. Besides that, I can't think of a team that beat one of our teams that wasn't better than us. And I always start that. And we start that in practice. If the ball hits the ground in practice at one of our practices, you're going to hear about it. And I think if you would ask anybody who's played for me the last 20 years as far as touching that football, if you get it, you better take care of it. And you'd be surprised if you look, because it's gotten a little bit skewed now. But bottom line, if you're a 4A team and you're playing other 4A teams, you should be relatively close. There's going to be a few Riverdales like you. There's going to be a few, and then it becomes a point of, we beat ourselves. And I get calls on Saturday mornings all the time. Saw where y'all beat them. Yeah, how'd y'all do? Well, we got beat, but we had 4 turnovers, had 5 turnovers. Well, if you make 8 errors in baseball, you're gonna get beat. If you have 25 turnovers in basketball, and you should get beat. If you fumble it 4 times, you should get beat. And I think that's been one thing that I've done that's really been good. We haven't beat ourselves. And I think, and plus I've been in some places we've had some players that just added on to it too. But in high school, I'm a big believer of that. Don't beat yourself. And that comes in practice and the way you do practice and how demanding you really are.
Trevor, that sounds like some avoiding disaster.
Hey, let's do it.
Man.
That's brought to you by Adam Wood, Farm Bureau Morrison. Adam does it all when it comes to insurance, home, auto, life. Stop in and see Adam at 6282 Manchester Highway. If you can't get by, that's all right. Give him a call at 931-668-7075. Once again, that's 931-668-7075. Call Adam for all your insurance needs.
Well, I mean, just what you said, because Coach Sullins and I were talking about this. I think it was Monday night, was it not? Where we got into that discussion. You had the run of state championships, the remarkable run at Alcoa, and of course you've extended that throughout. But how do you avoid disaster that much? Because you just said it. You play a very strict brand of football. Don't beat yourselves. But we were talking about, it's like 7 straight consecutive years when you're out there trying and winning championships, where you're sitting there thinking, at some point you're gonna have an off night. But y'all didn't. I mean, how do you work?
Well, if you don't beat yourself, you won't have an off night. You know,
It's pretty simple.
Learn from guys. Just don't have off nights.
You know, and I read an article a coach had written, and he was in our region. They had a good program, but they never could beat us. And he said for 10 years he waited for us to make them to have the bad game, make the mistakes. But we didn't do it. I mean, there was years we only had 5 turnovers in 15 games. One year we were in our ninth. One year we were in our 9th game in the 3rd quarter, and the only reason I know this is because it started building up as a national record. We had 0 turnovers. We were 9 3/4 into the season, and everybody was talking about, you go 10 game season, no turnovers. Hasn't happened, but yak. And it really got too big. It was bothering me a little bit, because that was part of the focus of every Friday night, and our kids, and lo and behold, there was a fumble from me to Chris right on our sideline. One of our ball carriers. I mean, it was right here. The helmet went on the ball, picture perfect. Nobody would have held on to it. Ball came out. We had a turnover, and I was so happy. It sort of relieved me. But we literally had kids that were crying. They were crying, and it became too big of a thing. But just complacency, we addressed that at Alcoa. I think we did a tremendous job of doing that. Not wearing the kids out. We knew, and somebody taught me this probably 10 or 12, 15 years ago, you got to rest kids some during the season. I don't care what it is. There's places in there, if the way you practice. We address that every year at Alcoa. And somebody told me this, and it made a lot of sense. He said, make sure you're resting your kids in September and October. Don't wait till the end of November to rest them up, because you got the semifinals. And that made a lot of sense to me, because one thing we did, and out of all, I think there was 13 we won at Alcoa. We won the state championship that year, but we didn't, and we addressed it the next week as a coaching staff. We didn't look like ourselves. We didn't make any mistakes, but we weren't as fast. We weren't as quick. There was a little something missing. We won the game, but we looked tired a little bit. And one of our coaches said it after the game. Said we didn't look right, and we didn't. As you go back and look, and we went back, and it was, we thought we had overworked them some. Maybe in the summer, it's one of those summers where TSAA released you. You can do what you want to in July, and we probably got over aggressive. I don't know, but I think there's something to that, especially when you're going to play a lot of games. You got to make sure that you keep them fresh, you keep them interested. And a lot of young coaches think when we got into playoffs, and I told our kids and our coaches knew, when we get into playoffs, our practices are going to get shorter.
Yeah.
Our work's going to get cut down a little bit physically. Now, mentally, we're going to step it up a notch, and heart-wise, we're going to step it up a notch, because that's what it's going to come down to. But we would actually cut practice down a little bit. It was still physical, but it wasn't 2 hours and 15 minutes. It was an hour and 50 minutes. And you could tell the difference. You could tell the difference, and it would actually get a little shorter. And I think that helped us. And like I say, it was something we addressed. And I think we did a phenomenal job of doing it because complacency can step in pretty quick if you don't watch it.
Yeah, that's about as good.
And I think that,
avoiding disaster
and I think it
as
happens in practice. And I
Yeah.
told him that was my fault. If we think we're complacent and you put it all on me, because by gosh, the practice ain't gonna get complacent. We're gonna practice the same way whether we're playing an 0-8 team or we're playing an 8-0 team. Our practices were the same, day in and day out. As far as the intensity, what it is, and there's certain times in there your practice is real intense, and certain times it's not as intense. You know, Kirby Smart taught me a couple lessons on some of that. You know, there's places in there, you know what I'm saying. But there's a thing, and when you win like that, there's certainly something you have to talk about, I believe.
Yeah, man, that's he's over the last maybe 20 minutes too. The casualness of talk to Jimbo Fisher a little bit. Just talk to Kurt Curry. I was like, this guy. He's talked to a lot of guys.
You root for Kirby. He talks to Kirby.
Big difference.
A lot of young coaches think, well, it's the playoffs, man. We got to practice harder. We got to practice longer. Mm-hmm. If that's the best way to do it, you should have been doing it from day one.
Yeah. So we got still stuff to teach them right now. It's the state semifinals.
Like I say, that's one thing I am proud. And they're doing a good job at Alcorn now the same way. Mm-hmm. They're really good right now. They got good players. The transfer rules certainly helped them. People are wanting to migrate to good programs, and they do a great job of coaching them and keeping them fresh all the way during the year.
Yeah. Coach Sullins over here, Chris, for the night. We're gonna let Coach Rankin sit back and listen to you for a minute or two. Let you do the little.
Under's going to be under.
The Sullins rant of the week, again sponsored by Supreme Building Products. Trev, what do you need for your building product?
Dimensional lumber.
Yep.
Benjamin Moore paint.
Got it.
I need a hammer.
You need a hammer.
I got maybe some nails.
Yeah.
What else? Tell me what else they got.
I mean, you might
You
ask Coach.
got to build walls.
You need a worker.
You got to.
You need a team of talent, man. Well, hey, listen, Supreme Building Products, locally owned and operated for over 50 years. Reese and the team over there, you can always follow on Friday, FYI Fridays on Warren First with Reese Moore, Supreme Building Products. Hey, doing big things over there.
Big thing.
I'm going to give the Sullins rant of the week only 2.5 minutes.
It'll be under.
And he's going to take the under here. Because I think he's just going to go into coach mode for just a second. One camera. Start the clock.
Kimberly Felton, you're going to be utterly disappointed tonight, okay? If there's one thing you and I have talked about, we do a pretty good job of reading the room in Warren County, okay? Nobody came to listen to me tonight at all. Here is the rant. There's guys like Michael Dodgen and Frank Fisher that's in our comment section every week, and we're having big discussions. But we're joking, having a big time. These people came to listen to him. Reese, I'll give this week's back. Yeah. I'm okay. I'm mesmerized.
Yeah, I'm hanging on every word.
Every word.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's like the Yellowstone end of the year sequel or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm speechless. It doesn't happen a lot.
Sullins is the guy that got hit by the bison right now.
I'm telling you, hey, the bison has thrown me up in the air 47 feet. And I'm in fairy tale land right now.
Yeah.
I love it. Hey, let's get to the message board.
Yeah.
Let's ask him some questions that people like Dodgen and Frank Fisher and them have got.
All right.
That's the rant this week, boys.
All right. Well, let's turn to the Ben Lomond Connect message board. And Coach, I will ask you a few of these. Coach Michael Dodgen chimed in. White County basketball coach says, Coach, what is the biggest difference that you have seen from when you first began coaching at Smith County until now?
Parents.
Nice.
I think it's one of the biggest difference. Parents are so involved now, overly involved maybe. You know, people ask me all the time about what's the difference in, your question, what's the difference in coaching 30 years ago and right now? Mm-hmm. I don't see that big a difference in kids. Mm-hmm. I coached them hard back then. I coach them hard right now. I think they still want the same thing. They want discipline. They want hard work. They want to win. They want to compete. They want all those things. But, I mean, from a parent standpoint, it seems like there's so much more involvement now. And part of that, like I say, comes from all the camps and the training and all that stuff. I heard Corbin at Vanderbilt Baseball the other day made a comment that I fully agree with. And if you got a kid that baseball wise, you're trying to get to the next level, whatever it is, don't play 200 summer league baseball games. Get in the weight room. Develop yourself as an athlete, not as a 200. It won't help you in the long run, those 200 games you play. And I agree with that. And some of the best baseball players I've been around have been good weightlifters, so forth. I saw LeBron James interviewed one night after they won a championship. They said something about work, and he said, I'll go back to work Monday. Now, when I say go back to work, I'll be in the weight room and I'll be training and stuff. Not necessarily with a basketball in my hand, but I'll be doing those things. So I think that, that's one difference. The biggest difference, too, is just the skill level and the strength of the kids nowadays. Mm-hmm. You used to not have those weight programs and all that stuff. It's pretty violent. I mean, there's kids out there that are high school kids that are benching 300 pounds, squatting 450 pounds, doing these kind of things that you just didn't see back in the day. Now, are they as outright tough? I doubt it. Mm. I can remember Warren County practices, we get water when practice is over. Mm. You go 2 hours sometime. They didn't give them salt pills sometimes. Nowadays, you got to give them a 10-minute water break and I'm not saying that's good or bad, but those same kids that we practiced 2 hours without water was also out in the field 6 hours working, and they were in the heat. We literally got kids at every school I've been to lately that the only time they're outside in the heat is when they're up there practicing. Yeah. And that puts you in a dangerous situation. You're going to have kids that overheat and that stuff. So that part of it is certainly different. I never will forget this at Smith County. The second year I was there, I believe, we were having we're practicing in the afternoon because so many kids worked in the farms and stuff. I get there about 2 hours early, about an hour before most of the kids would get there. I hear the showers running. And I thought, what in the world? 'Cause my office is where the showers were. I went in there and there's 3 kids in the shower. And I said, what are y'all doing? He said, we got to get cleaned off for practice. They had been working in tobacco fields all day, had this tobacco, whatever it is, tar, juice. Mm. They had to clean up before they went to football practice. And I'm thinking, wow, how tough are these kids? Mm. And they worked all day and come up there and go through a 2.5-hour practice with me. That was brutal. But those kids were so tough, so mentally tough, physically tough, used to the heat, used to the work. You don't see that now.
You bring up an interesting point, and we've talked about it. Parents can make a program and break a program if you allow it. Yep. That's probably tough to do with a guy like Coach Rankin. Parents can't. I mean,
hard to break it.
He can't. They're not going to break a guy. What would you tell young coaches that are getting started, understanding? And I've done this for a while. Parents are at another level, and what I'm concerned about is now with the NILs and the college, parents see dollar signs. What would you tell younger coaches to say, hey, you have to stop this or they're going to run you out of town? And that's just, you've seen it. What would you tell a young coach like Trevor? You better be, what would you say? I'd say you better be thick-skinned.
We got a running back in Chattanooga right now that's looking at $1 million or $2 million a year. He's going to make more than the coaches make. He'll be the second highest paid guy on the staff probably besides
Kirby
or whoever he goes.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy that we're doing that. He'll make probably more than maybe some pro players the first year. I don't know. But I mean, there's a cutoff, and I've tried to study it the last 10 years a little bit and look at it. There used to be a saying, and it was a saying. I don't know. I think I went by it, but I'll talk to your kid about everything but playing time. Let's talk about his grades. Let's talk about where he's going to church. Let's talk about whatever. We'll talk about everything but playing time. I don't think you can do that in today's world. Mm. I think you got it. Sometimes they probably don't come to talk to me because I'm brutally honest with them. And I've told one, come to practice and watch him. Come to practice. And it's hard, especially hard on young coaches, I'm sure, because all their parents want their kids to play. I understand that. A lot of them are way over realistic about where that kid can play. And when you leave Warren County or Alcoa or Boyd and you're going to go play college ball, there's a certain thing about make sure it's a good fit. You know, if you play basketball in Warren County, you want to go play somewhere, there's places you can go play. Now, is it going to be UT Stadium? No, or UT, you know, but there's so many places, and football-wise, there's a lot of places. Our problem, football-wise, was Riverdale and Alcoa. We would get these kids in so-and-so program, and that's where coaches can help. I can't help a kid get a scholarship to Alabama or Tennessee or wherever. If they're that good, they're going to find them. They're going to search them out. They're going to know about them. I couldn't even get my own kid a scholarship, and he was a pretty good kicker. But the smaller schools, you can help get them in. But our kids would come back, Coach, you know, I don't know, the weight room's not as big as ours. You know, the coaching staff's not as big as ours. You know, we have bigger crowds at Alcoa than we do at Yak. You know, so that hurts a little bit too. But there is places to play. But I think nowadays, and it does put a little strain on young coaches, you've got to interact with the parents a little bit. But I never want them, and I haven't had that problem, even though, understand this, I don't care if you win every game and you win all the championships, you're still going to have problems. You're still going to have problems. You know, my saying it, and I've done a pretty good job, I don't treat all kids the same. I treat our offensive linemen better. You know, they've heard me say that everywhere. And I also got a saying that I tell our kids and I tell parents, if your kid's not happy with not getting the ball enough, he's got two choices in our program. He can play left guard or he can play right guard. And that usually stops it. Because those guys, and I said it to a parent one night, and, you know, in front of a, you know, how many times, and my son was actually a starting center that year. I said, let me tell you something, he ain't touched it one time. He ain't scored one touchdown. He ain't got his name in the paper once all year. But he's one of the best players on our team, and he's why we're with all the offensive line. And I think you got to understand that those guys, you better treat them a little special. And we let them eat first. We let them get on the – and nobody ever griped about it because they had a chance to go there if you want to. We'll take all the linemen we can get. You can move any day you want to. Just say, Coach, I want to be a lineman. But, you know, in 40 years, I never heard that. Never heard that. So I think little things like that, just you got to be, psychologist? You got to be a little smart about the way you do things. And like I say, the biggest thing I think this day and time is playing kids, especially football. Yeah. It's just too hard, boy. We never, and y'all seen it here, I'm sure. Not too many kids quit basketball. If they make the team, they don't quit. They don't make the team. They don't quit baseball. They don't quit, but now they'll still make the team. If they ain't playing, they'll quit football. Especially if your product, at one time, I was in Riverdale, product was so good a kid wouldn't quit. If I can just walk around at the mall with that Pioneer jersey on my shirt, that's good enough right now. I don't have to be playing on Friday. That doesn't work anymore. You got to be playing now. That I think that's gone out the window a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that some of these explanations are. This is why.
These are just my thoughts now. That don't nobody else's.
Rick Insel agrees.
That's why Rick Insel's in our comment section saying this guy's the best. Also said so great to see you here, Coach, and it was great to see you last December from Ray Clark. It said Patty Clark talks about you so often, a legend. Frank Fisher also says, I have no questions. Like I said, I'm learning from listening to his philosophy, but I learned from a young head coach at Austin Peay this weekend. I'm 67 and learn something new every time I see a coach talk about the fundamentals. He said, if you're not learning, then you need to retire. I also want to talk a little bit, see in the future, or if you're ready to tackle any job in Middle Tennessee, from powerful Kubota tractors, mowers, and construction to steel chainsaws, Krebs Kubota trim.
Krebs Kubota.
Krebs Kubota.
That's what you need. Your local dealer of choice for sales, service, and rentals. Visit Krebs Kubota at Murfreesboro and experience the Krebs way. That's Krebs Kubota at 615-890-1200. You can also find them at KrebsKubota.com. He's seen the program.
Yeah,
man.
He knows
what we do on here.
But you don't do that in front of the Godfather,
Yeah,
okay?
you're good.
Yeah, we're good.
It's just
we're
my
good.
job. That's my job.
You keep learning.
Football gurus, as
You know, whoever that was, what was that, Franklin a while ago?
Yeah.
You know, you keep learning. I still go to coaching clinics. I look at stuff, and I don't know, it was 7 or 8 years ago. We had just won so many championships in a row. And I was at a coaching clinic. There was a young guy coaching, and they were talking about something I wanted to hear a little bit. So I always sat on the front row. I want one of them back row guys. And he started his lecture, and he looked at me and he said, Coach, I don't know what you're doing in here. I said, you better give me something. And lo and behold, I got a couple things out of that, guys. So, you know, you're always learning in this sport, no matter what it is. You know, you're going to get something out of it. I was speaking in Atlanta I don't know, still don't know what he's doing in there, but I was speaking in Atlanta one weekend and kept talking and doing things. And I kept seeing a guy on about the third row, and I thought, man, I know that guy. But I didn't know that guy. And I went on and on. I was thinking I was working, and when it was over, I saw him walking towards me, and I said, I know your face. Well, it was the Dallas Cowboys head coach.
Oh, wow.
And he was in election. I said, what in the world are you doing? He said, Coach, I get some of my best stuff from high school guys. And that was, I never will forget that. It was pretty, what was his name? I can't think. But his son was in there too. His son was a high school coach, but he was a pro guy in there. And he said, I always get something out of high school guys. So, I mean, you can get things at different places out of different guys. And if you stop learning, it won't be much. I mean, there's a lot of times I go in and hear some things, you know your ABCs, but still you'll get something that will help you. And I think I've always done that and picked up some things in later years that helped us.
Yeah. Well, first, one thing I want to point out that he just said is sitting on the front row is a good thing, and being attentive. If you know, you know. Second thing on that is seeing the future. Wanting to tie that back in there. Yeah, appreciate that. The second thing I want to tie in, seeing the future. Somebody asked this question a second ago was, are there any of the? Have you seen a young coach that's coming through in Tennessee right now that kind of challenge the way that you had to do things, or B, just in the future that you could see making the run that you've maybe had? Now, I mean, I don't know, 500.
That's big right
but
there.
there's some young coaches or coaches you've seen out in the state recently. You're thinking, yeah, that guy's got something working.
I don't want to say this the wrong way, but I don't think anybody will ever break that win record.
No.
And because nobody can stay in it that long anymore, it's too hard.
Yeah.
You know, I've been fortunate. I've been in good places. I've been in good programs. But, I mean, there's so much involvement from outer things now that I just, you know, you don't see many older coaches coaching anymore. Yeah. You know, you used to see it back when I was young. I had all kind of them that I could go, you know, and get information from. And it's just a different kid now, for one thing. It's a different parent. It's a different school. I mean, things are so different. Oh, there's better coaches out there than me right now. I know that for a fact, but I don't know if they can stay in it that long. And I was lucky. I've been in good situations. I was smart enough to know to pick my battles and what not to do and what to do. But some of these coaches go through such hard times now and it's getting harder, like I say, with the NIL, whatever high schools are taking advantage of that, I don't know. With the transfer rule, you know, there's a good coach from Blackman just walked away not too long ago because he comes in after Christmas and 3 of his players have disappeared. You know, that shouldn't happen to you. You shouldn't go through that. And you know, it's basically the same thing that got Saban out of coaching. Because Saban wasn't tired of coaching. He wasn't fixing to fight this NIL and all this stuff, and that wasn't him, you know. He had a product, and people were going to come to that product. That's not out there anymore. Yeah. People are going to come, where's the money? Yeah. You know, Notre Dame had a product, and they still might. Lou Holtz told me one time that we didn't have to recruit like everybody else because people want to come to our place. And they did at one time, maybe before y'all's time. If you could go to Notre Dame, that was a good choice. Yeah. You did that. But the programs now, the money is overriding it some, and it's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was funny. We were trying to do the math with Coach Ballou the other day. And of course, Coach Ballou's, I think 30. I think he said he's 32. 32. Yeah, he's in his 30s, and he said, you know, if I was going to try to coach and catch Kerry Rankin's record, he said I think I'd have to win 15 games a year until I was 70.
Yeah, 35 more years in a row.
Crazy. I mean, you gotta coach for 50 years and win 10 games a year. It's sort of crazy. Yeah. But like I say, I'm not I'm fortunate. I'm blessed. I've been in some really great places, and it's just been it's not always been easy, but I'm sure I was on one of the easiest paths for sure. Now I took some chances to do that. Not too many people wanted to go to Smith County. When I went to Riverdale, they'd never been past the first round of the playoffs, so it wasn't like I didn't walk in or I wasn't born with a gold football underneath my arm or anything. I went through some rough times. And some hard times, but I just made the right decision somehow. Was blessed to be in some good places, and administration has a lot to do with that. When I was at Riverdale, we had one of the best, I think one of the best principals. He understood the importance of athletics, and I think you got to do that. And I'm not saying just football, your whole athletic program, but sometimes football sort of. And a guy told me this one day. He said it's the front porch to your home, coach. Your front porch looks good. Come on in, and the living room looks good, and that's basketball, all those things. But sometimes the first thing they're looking at is, that one sport. Now that's not true everywhere. I know that, but it's true in a lot of places. And some schools get, they're a football school, or they're a baseball school, or they're a basketball school. It's just because they've been successful in that sport. Yeah.
Man.
Again, back to the Ben Lomond Connect message board. Franklin Fisher told a little story here. Said, I remember when I was a senior offensive lineman in high school.
You can't believe all the stories you hear.
He said it was a hot August day and I didn't want to fight for water after practice. I was walking away. Said somebody tapped me on the shoulder. It was Coach Rankin, handed me a big cup of water. Terry Raper also says, offensive line is the backbone of the offense. Very smart to respect the big guys up front. And also, too, Drew Walker said the name dropping.
It's insane.
Legendary.
Well,
it's not like
and he just drops them because he knows. You know what I mean?
He knows, yeah. And of course, C.J. Taylor in the comment section always also said he is a football guru here. So Coach, we appreciate everything and all the time you give us. If you got a few more minutes, we'll get to
That'd
a few
be good.
more.
I'm good. I'm having fun.
Well, I was going to ask you a little bit of Mudbone's Hot Wings hot take. Usually we look for the commentary here.
Yep.
But I want to ask Coach if he's got any big time hot take. Is there any take that you have in football right now that you think people would just completely disagree with, but you were completely adamant that this is how it's gonna be anymore? I don't know. Maybe there's
That
nothing
I'm adamant about.
Yeah, there's something that people will be like, Coach. I
was going. You get stuff thrown at you that's not necessarily true. He does the Rankin way. It's Rankin's way. It's Rankin's way or the highway.
Yeah.
Well, as long as it works and kids are playing and stuff, and you can go to bed at night. I can go to bed at night and go to sleep. I've always followed. And when you win a lot, you get accused of cheating and recruiting. And I can promise you, I go to bed at night with a clear conscience. I was more fearful of a higher power than Telos AA. I couldn't go to bed at night and know that I've been cheating or doing things that weren't right. And I had a coach come to me about 6 months ago, and he said, Coach, if you stay in it and you keep being successful, you got to cheat. And I thought, I ain't going to do that. But the more I thought about it, there's so much of it going on. And, some of those guys are winning games too. And like I say, if the stories you hear, and you can't believe everything you hear, but I'm talking in those big cities, there's so much recruiting going on. It's just, like I say, you probably don't see it here because you're not in those things, but there's so much. How do two kids from South Mississippi on the Rivals Top 50 all of a sudden end up in Nashville? How many schools did they pass over to get to Nashville?
They drove by every one of those schools to get to that school.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
And
he
I'm not,
understood what hot wings
Yeah,
hot take
he understood it.
and I'm not saying about anybody, but there's just so much going on, It's interesting.
Phew.
And I think football was the leader of it, but now it's come down to other sports too.
Yeah,
There's no doubt.
Look, I've got to go, and if we got a segment, because I'm going to ask a question.
I'll tie it in after the fact if I need to.
As successful as you have been, in my estimation, you were probably your own transfer portal for this reason. There would probably be parents that said, I want my
There's
child
no doubt.
to play for him.
There's no doubt.
How when that went on and it was going on, because I can see it. He's in a room. I will guarantee you there's parents right there that said, I wish my child could have played for Coach Gary Rankin. How, when that happened, how did your competitors, your other coaches, did they just have to tip the cap and say, because Coach Blue said it the other night, he's just that good.
Well,
how did your competitors think when it comes to
and I think
those?
it started at Riverdale. Parents wanted their kids in good programs, and I was a little guilty of that. When I left Riverdale, I was ready for a change when I went to Alcoa. I mean, I was ready for a change. I needed a change. There was a thing or two. We had some changes in administration, different things, and everything just wasn't lined up. And I thought, man, this is a good time maybe to look. And there was very few places I could look that was going to come where matching that. But it also had something to do with my own children were coming up. Yeah. And I was raised and went to school at a small school environment. I liked the Smith counties, those Smithvilles, the Woodburys, all those places. If you can get it going, Marion County at one time, you get it going, man. There's nothing like it. It's sort of like it was when I was here. It was just. So I was looking, and Alcoa came open, and it had some success, but not continued success. It was win one, drop off to 3-7, and then it was like this all the way across. And I knew one guy there and didn't even know him good. He said, Coach, if you come here, you can develop. And that's all I've never said I wanted to win this many state championships or do this. I just wanted to have a consistent program all through the years, and I've been able to do that somehow. When I first started coaching, I was looking at Lincoln County with Louis Thompson. They were big at then. Calvin Short and Gallatin was the team. That's who you wanted to look at. Jeff County, those were some of the programs that had 100 players and had 7 or 8, 9 coaches. They were winning games on a consistent basis. I went and looked at all those guys and tried to figure out what was going on. But I've been lucky, been thankful.
Well, it is absolutely incredible to hear all these stories. I'm sure we get a couple more in here.
And let me say this.
Go ahead, Coach.
All these compliments, and you're this, and you're that, and you're this. I think there's a difference, and I tell young coaches, I think there's a difference there's some brilliant, I'm talking about brilliant high school football coaches out there right now. And then I think there's a group of coaches, and I think I'm in that group. I'm certainly not in that brilliant group. I think you just got to know how to win. I think there's a difference in knowing your game sometime and knowing how to win. And like I say, we talked about it earlier. You make 8 errors in baseball, you should lose. You better be taking more infield. You better be doing. If I'm a basketball coach and I know nothing about basketball, but we're gonna make most of our free throws. I don't care.
Get the easy ones.
Yeah. We're gonna make most of them. Yeah. And if you look, and like I say in football, don't beat yourself. And you got so many young guys now, and I'm not against it. They're great coaches, but sometimes I've been against young coaches, younger guys that would rather look pretty by throwing 40-yard touchdown passes and doing this than win the game. There's sort of a self-ego type thing, but I've always thought I was just one of those guys that understood how to win the games. I never put myself up there with the smartest of the smartest, but the bottom line is to win the game.
You bring up something, Coach Insel, I'll never forget when he was here. I'm sure you've had opportunities. You've talked about you could have went to Georgia. You decided to stay with the family. I'm sure you've had opportunities to do what Coach Quarles did and maybe go to the collegiate level. You stayed at the high school level. We talked to Coach Insel. He talked about how good coaches were at the high school level. And when he got to college, he realized that some of the guys at the college level, and he didn't want to name any names, but he found out some guys at the college level just weren't that good at their jobs. Have you ran into some college coaches, and after you left talking to them, you're like, there's no way that guy will be successful?
Exactly.
Okay.
But they're so, I coached the D-line in college, and that's it. They're so, my first, I don't know if it was a college offer. He said, man, I wouldn't mind getting you up on the hill. He said, you do some good things. It was from Johnny Majors. And it was actually right over here on Warren County practice field. I was coaching the DBs. and I'd been there 3 or 4 years, and he came down to look at somebody, and he saw some of our drills, and he said, you know, at that time you didn't make anything, you know, you had to do this and that wasn't in my plans at the time. But nowadays, and I'm like anybody that's been successful, you've had chances to move up. I like the high school level, always have. I like those kids because you can see them develop. Now, if I had known back then what they paid college coaches, I might reconsider. But back then, and when I was at Riverdale, I had a couple chances, but I was making as much as a head coach at Riverdale as a position coach was making at MTSU or all those places. It just didn't make sense, you know. It didn't make sense, but the money's changed so much in that thing. But I've always been just a high school coach. Never really had a big desire to go to college. There's certainly guys out there could coach in college right now. Brian Nix, the guy that replaced me at Alcoa, could walk on the college campus and coach in a heartbeat. A lot of them could. But you'd be surprised sometime, even some of the pro coaches. I've heard some pro coaches, you know, they know their position, they know their place, but sometimes they don't see that whole ball of wax. And I think it hurts sometimes, and you'll see it in Nashville, you'll see it places where this, and this may make somebody mad, but this pro guy that played for the Titans is retired, and now, let's hire him over here to be our head coach. It don't work like that, guys. I mean, there's so much involved in that school, and you understand that school and that whole program thing. It's just a little bit different. Some of them are successful, but a lot of them, you know, they can't walk right off the pro field and turn. You know, I kept hearing, Peyton Manning needs to be the head coach at Tennessee. Well, Peyton's great, but he wasn't no head coach for at Tennessee. And he'll tell you that, you know. But anyway,
we're going to get into Take Your Medicine. If you're tired of being treated like just another member of the big chain pharmacies, it's time to make that short drive to Spencer Drug Company. If you need prescription filled fast, they've got you covered. If you need answers about your medication, they're right there to help. Spearheaded by Rhonda Barnes, Beth Kirby, and their great team. They make it easy and convenient to take care of your health. So whether you're in Sparta, McMinnville, Spencer, or anywhere in between, take the drive and see the difference yourself. Spencer Drug Company, where service still matters. 120 College Street, 931-946-7900. Now, I mean, we already heard a legendary Take Your Medicine moment already.
Yeah.
Yes.
About, you know, a guy just somehow surviving a heart attack to get beat
in
by
the middle of
60.
the field.
He got good medicine, man.
Yeah, but has there ever been a game or a call where you had to kind of take your own medicine, where you thought that you had the perfect plan or the perfect game plan, and you by the end of the first quarter you ever said, "I was trapped. This one got to
I
get
tell you
on
what,
there."
it wasn't directly on me. It was on our team. Was when I was at Warren County.
Yeah.
We were ranked first or second in the state, and we were playing Father Ryan, and they were first or second in the state, right over here. Mm-hmm. It was late in the year. We were both undefeated. We were up on them 7-3, late in the game, late, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I don't remember exactly. And they run what we call a flea flicker. Mm-hmm. They threw a pass to a receiver, and he pitched it back. And I'm telling you, we played it about as perfect. I don't know if it was Michael Tubbs. I can't remember exactly. Might have been Charlie. Soon as that guy caught that ball, we hammered him. Yeah. And he was literally falling down when he pitched that ball right down their sideline. He went 85, 90. That was probably one play that sticks in my mind because I think we would have been state. We would have been whatever it was at that time. I can't think of the guy's name that caught it and run it. But that was the biggest electrifying game that I'd been a part of at Warren County. I mean, it was big. Well, those two schools, and it was big. And that was one that really stuck me. There's been some different calls that's happened, but not many. But that was, as far as team-wise, one that really stuck and stood out. And we played it. You know, they couldn't have done it. I mean, we hit the guy. The ball should have went backwards 10 yards over his head. They made a tremendous play.
That's been over 50 years ago, and it's funny because
heard that story
Todd Wilmore.
Oh, y'all heard that story before?
Yeah, Todd. Anytime we were going to an athletic trip, and we were together, that story would somehow come up.
It
like
comes up so
it was
much.
the hook and ladder type deal. And we played it perfectly.
We played it perfect.
And all of a sudden, they're going down the sidelines
And
to win the
that's been
game.
one of my biggest plays through my career. We do that a lot. But that night, that whole bank, I mean, it was everywhere. That's the biggest crowd that I'd ever seen or been a part of. It was a big deal. Of course, they were out of Nashville, private school at that time. We're all together. But it was electrifying.
I think it got brought up a lot in 2020 when Warren County ended up going 8-0,
Yeah.
and we're playing Riverdale, and it was the first They said it was the first matchup of the top 10
undefeated
since
teams.
the Father Ryan Warren County game, where it was 2 undefeated top 10 teams playing at Nunley Stadium, and I think everybody at that point, that's when I started hearing a little bit about that story. I hadn't heard it until then, and
What year was that?
2020 was when CJ was there, but I think they said it was in I think it was 80s.
Was he a senior that year?
Yeah, he was.
Yes.
Yeah. When I came over, they were playing Cookville that night.
Yes.
Okay.
Jimmy Maynard was a good friend of mine. I don't know if y'all heard that story.
Yeah.
He's part of the reason I went to Riverdale too. He was the head coach at Sparta at that time, and he called me and said, "You need to check on this job." And I remember laughing. I was sitting down in my basement in Lazyville. I remember, and I said, "I can't get that job." He said, "I'm telling you, Coach, they've got all kind of talent. You go there, I'll go with you." And I said, "You're a head coach at Sparta." And he said, "I'll go with you if you go." And he was right.
Yeah.
He was right.
Yeah, I was gonna say that story is legendary.
It's legendary.
Yeah, but it is a all time, I assume, take your medicine moment for Warren County because
It was tough. It was tough because we would have won it. And
I wish I could remember who the safety, because I think I even talked to the guy that was the safety who said I destroyed the dude.
You actually wrote an article.
I think I wrote a story.
Yes,
I think
you did.
I actually went
You
back.
did.
I don't know who
I had to go back
Michael Tubbs might have been playing in. I don't know if y'all heard that name. I can't remember.
I remember talking to him.
Oh, he did. He ripped him.
Yeah.
The guy was falling. Film. The guy was falling, and just made a perfect play.
Yeah. Trev, we missed out anything yet? Man, you go ahead.
Hey, we got to make sure we get our official
Yeah,
apparel sponsor.
Hey, C4, man.
C4, baby.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, C4, best apparel in the business. If you need it, call Jeff Chisholm. He can get it done. You know his number? I don't know his number off the top of my head.
He don't give his number out.
C4 Apparel on
C4
Facebook.
apparel on Facebook.
Yeah, Coach, anything that you got on there? You have some notes over here.
Yeah,
Well, the notes were just about, some of the most impressive things that you think. I think one of the most impressive things, when I looked at Smith County, what he did there coming in, they were just not that good of a football team. We've talked about that. After the first year, it took off. When you look at what he did at Alcoa and Riverdale, he won 90% of his football games. Not 75, not 90%. The other thing I think is really impressive was the Boyd Buchanan. The last 3 years, he's 36-3, and Boyd Buchanan was a team. I think Coach Rankin, they had some roller coasters. They really struggled, and he comes in within 12 months, and he just turns a program around. It's a guy that, like I said, I've coached basketball for many years. It's hard for me to fathom the success. It just doesn't register. It's hard to quantify. It's hard to quantify.
0-10 was tough. One of my college educated sons, usually every week or every month, will say that, if it wasn't for that first year, Daddy, you'd have a pretty good record.
Well, that's one of the things that's on here. If you look at his stats,
And he said, don't just say the last, I don't know how many years. If it's been 43 total years, he says, just say in the last 42 years, you're won this many games. Which is really a true statement because we didn't win any of the first year. So
the wild part about that is his first year, he lost 17% of his games his whole career.
That's
First year.
that is.
Amazing when you really think
put
about
it like
that.
that.
I wouldn't wish
amazing.
that on anybody, but and I've said this over and over, it probably made me.
Really?
Yeah, I learned so many lessons about kids and about myself, really. We had a saying when I first went there, and I don't know where, don't let them in the end zone. I don't care what happens. Don't let them. They don't come right in here. And we'd preach it, holler it, scream it. And I remember we were in our 9th game, I believe, and we were 0-9. And we were playing Sparta, and they were popping us just like everybody had. And they were down on about the 8-yard line. And they called timeout, and I was walking. The kids were walking over, and I could hear them screaming, don't let them in the end zone. Don't let them score. And we're 0-9. We're done. I'm looking forward to that 10th game and try to get going for the next year. But that sort of hit me that it was registering a little bit.
They had bought in.
And those kids were buying in a little bit. And the next year we went, and this game probably turned me around in program. But at Smith County, we had a lot of kids coming back. We had a year and a half on the weight room. We had some things. We were tougher than crap. Our kids were tough. We scheduled Lebanon High School, who was really good, in a scrimmage 1st of August. And I got some flack over it. I remember some parents saying, "You don't really." I said, "Don't go. You don't see them get back, don't go." And we went to Lebanon. They were a big time. They were pretty big at that time. We went down there. It was 90,000 degrees. You didn't have no thermometer. You didn't check nothing. Just check if they were breathing. We went out there. We scrimmaged them. Supposed to get massacred. I wanted to see where we were, and I wanted to get tested. And I remember they got the ball and they took it down the field, scored, boom, same old, same old. We got the ball, went on a 15-play drive, 3-4 yards, all we could get, scored, tied it up. That's good. They get the ball back, they drive it down, fix and score again. They fumble, something happens. We get it and have another long drive. I mean, it's hot. Kids are falling out. And we go up 14-7. And all of a sudden, our kids start you could see the difference. And I kept telling them, we can play with these guys. We got to make sure we can prove. And all that coach speak stuff. And then they get it back, and they go a first down or two, and they fumble, and we score again. It's 21-7 on something. I think it opened the doors for us. That one scrimmage, and everything that you've been preaching. And I'll promise you this is true anywhere. You can build the nicest weight room. You can get the nicest equipment. You can be the biggest motivator, speaker. You can do all those things. But sooner or later, you got to win games. Them kids are going to. You got to win games, And I think once you get to that point, you got something going on. But that was a scrimmage that I always remember in my career that I think that turned the corner for us at Smith County.
Whew, man. All right. Hey, is your yard ready for a makeover? Let McCorkle Landscaping bring your outdoor vision to life. Mitch, I know we said we were on to the video, but
next week.
I kind of got up on trying to get ready for Coach Rankin coming in. Owned and operated by Mitchell McCorkle, a local landscaping expert, offers everything from nursery services and custom landscaping to retaining walls, irrigation systems, and full hardscape designs, big job or small, residential or commercial. McCorkle Landscaping is your go-to team for reliable quality results. So you can call them today, 931-212-5174. Again, 931-212-5174. McCorkle Landscaping, digging deep to build your dream outdoors. Trav, you always kick us off with the random questions.
Coach, and all the success and all the championships, is there one that maybe just means a little more?
Well, and I've been asked that a few times, but I think with my own children being a part of it, that was special. In the 94, the first one at Riverdale was special, no doubt. Like I say, they had been in the playoffs. They had been one of those 6-4, 7-3 teams forever. Had never been past the first round of playoffs. We got to the state championship the third year, got beat by a really, really good Lincoln County team. And then we had 19 out of 21 starters coming back. I knew we were going to be good in 94. Good enough that I tried to talk to guys about how do you handle this? You got so many guys coming back. Don't beat them up in the spring. They can play. Don't be stupid and go out there and have. At one time, you could have as many scrimmages as you wanted, but these kids had proved they could do it. And some of the things that I probably wasn't aware of and didn't know at that time. You got a good horse. Don't ride him down before the Derby gets here. And that was certainly a special one in 94. I mean, there was Fernando Bryant, who played for the Alabama, played for Jacksonville, still one of the best players. I remember when it was a week or two after it was over at our banquet, he said, "Coach, you may not ever get another one, but at least you got one championship." So I call him every year I won it and remind him. But I remember he made that came. And at that time, that was an okay comment to make. I sort of said, "Okay, you're probably right, buddy," because they don't come around too often. But those, and then being able to do it with my own children, and like I say, it was easy. But I think as a coach, the worst thing you want to do is your son plays quarterback, or he's a point guard, or he's a pitcher. But I was lucky. My son was an offensive lineman who nobody ain't give a crap. He could have started and been terrible. Nobody even know. And then my other son was a kicker. I mean, it's pretty easy evaluation, this or this, that's it. Everybody knew that. Everybody saw that, knew that. So it was pretty easy and fun to coach my children.
Yes, sir.
But my kicker still holds the record for most laps run at Alcoa for being late to practice. It's still a talk up there. He was 35 minutes late. And to show how dumb he is, he'd be better off not showing up.
Right.
And in his defense, a great kid. He went to Sevierville because we blew the whistle for lineups and for warm-ups, and we kick every day. And one of the coaches said, Coach Zeke's not here. I said, no, he's here. Because that's like saying, I said, he's here. And he said, Coach, he's not here. And I said, he got to be. So it got pretty, we were worried. I got worried because that doesn't happen. That wasn't going to happen.
Right.
And then I had to send our trainer to see if he's up in the school, something happy. And then finally, a trainer got a hold of him. He wouldn't call me. He was in Sevierville. He had gone to back up to support one of our golfers who was playing in some kind of state tournament. That was friendly. But he had plenty of time to get back. The meet was in the morning. He was going to leave at 2. He had an hour to drive 30 minutes. But what he didn't realize was the rod run was going on up there.
It'll get you. It'll get you.
So it'll get you.
It'll get you, man.
The rod run or something. So he got in traffic and he panicked, and he was 35 minutes late. So you had to run a lap. For every minute you're late, you had to run a lap. And he would have been smarter if he'd have just not showed.
He should have just stayed
Because
around.
you just run so many. But anyway, he had to run. This was on a Tuesday, and he had to run, which 35 laps is quite a bit.
So he was still running Friday. Is what you're saying.
Especially for he finished it for a kicker. But the bad part was, my wife called me the next morning and said, "What's wrong with Zeke?" And I didn't tell her. I said, "There's nothing wrong with him. He's good." When he comes out of his bed, and he can't hardly walk. His legs. We didn't know if he's going to be able to kick that Friday. Didn't know if he's going to be able to kick, but he got loosened up for. I had to send him to a therapist, a specialist, try to get him rubbed out and stuff.
Well, I'm saying,
Hey,
I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say Coach Rankin wasn't saying just run the 100 yards. He was probably running past the end
we're
zone.
running the whole.
That's
He was getting it
240, 340.
He was getting them all.
Yeah, about every 5 to 6 laps you're hitting a mile. So he ran 6 miles.
Well, he knew there was only when you got kids playing, you got to be. It's just like your great players, your Randall Cobbs, the CJ.
Yeah.
You got to make sure those guys. I mean, I'd get them all. I didn't care if you were going to Tennessee or you're going something. You're going to get coached hard, and you're going to get. If you don't get after your star players, you lose it with the other kids.
Yeah.
You lose it with the other kids. So I've always been aware of that, but that was a different situation.
Well, you're
About costing me a kicker and my wife.
You've set such a tone, and you've talked about the how y'all have to be certain ways, and I'm sure every night y'all probably had things that y'all were going to accomplish on the sidelines as a coaching staff. But was there ever a time where you it just broke rank one night, and you're like, it just something happened so crazy that you're like, I just kind of have to laugh about this? Because I know that I'm sure every Friday or Thursday night or any time y'all were playing was a very serious time. But was there ever a time where you're just like,
I got accused of being too serious about it, and I guess I was.
Yeah.
I always read and checked and tried to keep up with Coach Landry in Cowboys, how serious he always was. I remember he made a comment one time, there's really not anything funny goes on in a football game. And, those things, that's different now, trust me. It's a lot different now. But not really. We were playing at Alcoa one night, and my 2-year-old, 3-year-old, I guess, and I don't know, and you've heard this before, and it's true with me. I don't care. When I'm on the field, you can set off an atomic bomb in behind me, and I don't hear it. I just don't hear it. I don't know. And I'm sure there's other people like that. I hear nothing. I don't hear the boos. I don't hear that stuff. But all of a sudden I heard, will Zeke Rankin please report to the concession stand? And I'm thinking, that's weirder than crap. Because he sits with my wife. Well, she'd let him go. He got loose. She'd let him go get some popcorn or something. 3 years old. But anyway, and a few minutes later, Zeke Rankin, and then all of a sudden he's missing. And we can't find him. And he's gone out behind the football field somewhere trying to throw football with a bunch of kids and stuff. That was a little different and a little weird.
Yeah.
And then at Riverdale one year, this was probably the weirdest one. We play the game. We get beat. I think it was Dixon County, one of the few games we lost. and we couldn't find one of our kids. I can't remember which one. We couldn't find them after the game, and we finally had to get the campus police and stuff. Well, they were so tore up about losing because people were crying. At Riverdale, you lost a game, it's like a funeral, I'm telling you. And it's, it was too much. But anyway, he had seen all that, and he had run off and got behind the stadium, was hiding in one of those little places back in there. And that was it wasn't funny, but it was a little scary at first.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious, the story.
Oh, that just says the tone of you gotta hate losing.
Yeah.
We've talked about football, and there's no doubt everybody knows this man when it comes to coaching football, serious as it gets. But we've also learned he's a family guy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What does Gary Rankin and the family do on a Saturday or Sunday when it's not football season? What do y'all? Are you on the water? What do you do?
Let me go back to the football part of it. I mean, there was times that we'd had a game on Thursday night with the junior pro, whatever it was, and then we'd have a high school game on Friday night, and then one of my sons was playing college on Saturday. It about got me trying to get to everything, trying to get to all of that. And then I remember one year we started, and my little boy was a water boy, girl was cheerleading, older son was playing. And my wife said, this is the first time I've ever sit in the stands by myself in, so many years and stuff. But in the off season, we're water people. We spend a lot of time on Center Hill Lake.
Yeah.
We have in the past. Me and my wife now, we do a lot of bike riding. I'm into bicycle stuff, and we do a lot of bike riding and stuff. And it's usually been around football games until the last year. Like I say, my youngest son just graduated a year ago, and then my older one played before that. So it was pretty much college football, college games, and doing some of that. So we'll see this time around. I don't know. I'm trying to worry about what I'm going to do during the season right now. It's been different. And I'm not struggling. I could have taken a few jobs, but I wasn't going to do that just to take one. If something really, really good happens, maybe. But, I probably should stay out of it. It's probably better for me. But I still enjoy it. I'm wanting to go back and coach right now, maybe in some ways. But I'm certainly looking forward to watching some games this fall, for sure.
We missed anything?
For
Mike?
sure.
I think we missed the Power Bro.
We missed the power. Oh, we have missed the
We
power.
ain't missed the
You said something about winning and losing.
Yeah.
It got to a point with me that the losing hurt a lot more than the winning felt good. And that shouldn't, if I had to change one thing going back, I would try to enjoy it a little more because, and I'm sure I'm not the only coach, but I mean, we meet on Friday night and then I wouldn't even be home sometime. I'm already thinking about, well, what's Warren County do? What are they doing defense? We got to get to, and during the season, it never, I enjoyed it once the season was over, but I wished I had slowed down a little bit and enjoyed the wins a little bit more and quit trying to think of the next one and the next one and the next one. And then it got that away championship-wise. Like I say, Fernando made that comment. That was a pretty legit, most people aren't going to win many. And I would have bought that, but like I said, I do call him every time now. But there's so many good coaches in a lot of sports that have never been able to win it all. And I mean really, really good coaches. Yes. And they just hadn't been to the right place, the right time. And for whatever reason, and I'm not the one to say it, but it's gotten where it's about winning championships and winning rings. And, people's got away from a little bit of teaching the lessons we need to teach and what sports means to our school and our communities. And, like I say, with all this transfer rule, you're losing that community thing just a little bit. And I look at it on the other end because there's some schools in Chattanooga. There's some schools of those 5-5 teams we were talking about had two great players, but now people are going there and grabbing them. And now those two great players could have helped us win 4 or 5 games. They're gone. We're 1-9. Can't get nobody to play in the programs. I mean, I saw some of it this year. We had JV games scheduled with teams, and 3 or 4 of them called and said, Coach, we just don't have enough kids down. And I think the TLSAA needs to look at that hard because they're destroying some programs. They're just way up down in
We actually had a
Bell Buckle.
Bell Buckle. Yeah.
And that guy was doing a good job. He had gotten a program where they had enough kids. They were doing everything legal, far as I know. And then all of a sudden, during the dead period, some school comes in and grabs 4 of their linemen, and I know how it did. I know the whole story, and it destroyed them. I mean, it'd be like somebody coming in, you got 4 pitchers, and they take them all. You know, and it basically closed their program down because they had that chance to transfer like that. It closed that down. It closed TKA down in Knoxville. Somebody came in and got some of theirs, and the next thing you know, their numbers are so low and they're gone. So I don't know.
We're going to bring this question up. This will be the last question I have. He just brings it up.
Yeah.
Warren County went non-region, and we had talked about it. We thought that was a good decision for Warren County at the time because they weren't really not that they weren't a 6A program, but the numbers and all those type of things. You know this. We're starting to hear if we stay 6 classifications, you may see 15, 20, 25, 30 teams maybe want to do this because they understand they can't compete.
Well, that's when that rural urban thing came up that one time. Because you got to admit, you're at a disadvantage right here than if you're in Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
And it magnifies with the transfer rule. I mean, you just don't have schools around here to get them from if you could get, you know.
Do you think the and I talked to Grant today on a couple issues. Do you think the TSSAA, is this something that they are they concerned about it, or they better be concerned about it?
You might see this at the other end in the privates too, because when you got dorms, your best football player right now could go to a boarding school and be eligible as soon as he gets in that room.
Tomorrow
he'll be eligible. Now, if he wants to come to Boyd, where I was, yeah, whole family got to move. Now, you tell me or if he wants to go to Christian Brothers, that whole family's got to move. How is that anywhere close to being equal? And if you look at Macaulay Baylor, some of those boarding schools, they're controlling everything.
Well, you bring that up.
So they've got to find a way to even the.
You bring that up. I thought last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, the TSSAA they kind of told the privates, you're going to have to go play a small school private is going to have to step up and play
because they couldn't get a schedule. They thought they were going to put them off on me, and I stopped that.
But you basically stood up and said, hey, you're not going to do this to us. And if you say you're going to, I'm just going to forfeit the game today. I'm going to take up for my kids. I'm putting that out. Who are the coaches?
And we were pretty good. Some of those matchups, they were going to beat them 80-0. They were going to hurt their kids. It was ridiculous.
Who are the coaches? And you were one of them because you brought that up, and that went by the wayside pretty quick.
I didn't get much support, though.
But who are the coaches that the TSSAA right now you think would listen to? Because what I'm concerned about is what you just talked about. I see football, and we did some reels and those type things about it. If you continue down this road, you're going to have schools that will not have football teams because you're only going to get 20 to 25 players out. The best ones are going to go play elsewhere, and you're diluting it.
Oh, I saw it in Chattanooga the last 2 years. Like I say, those middle roads, everybody's got one or two good players. I don't care if you're even sorry team. You got a few good players, and people were coming in and getting those and destroying.
Who will the TSSAA listen to? And are they already listening? Do you think that they're?
I have no clue. I have no clue. I actually quit. I backed the TSSAA, but I used to go to meetings religiously. I mean, I was right there all the time, and then at one meeting, somebody made the comment, well, that's easy for you to say, Coach Rankin, because you've had this or you had this. And it turned me off. Because I've been in all those situations. They can say what they want to. I've been 0-10. I've been all of it. But they've got to do something. And your idea about 25 or 30 of them pulling out and just having their own kind of thing, I don't know if that's not a good idea.
I think it's possible. I think it's very possible because
I don't know how many there was now, but there was a couple of schools in Chattanooga need to do that. They can't play in those regions. They don't have Howard's one of them, Chattanooga Howard. They've got so many international kids in there. It bumped their numbers up so much. They would be a good single A or 2A team, but they can't play 5A. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, every kid that comes into that county that can't speak English at the time, they put them at Howard, which is probably a good idea instead of putting them in a classroom in Warren County and he can't speak no English. How's he going to pick up all this? So I think, if I'm not wrong, they put them all at one place and they've got teachers and classes and stuff, and it bumped their numbers up so bad they just didn't have a prayer. But I think they better look at the lower level schools, because I'm telling you right now, the rich are getting richer. There's no doubt about that, and I understand that. But I wouldn't doubt if you don't see more of what you're saying. And I wouldn't doubt if you don't see it on the upper end of the private schools.
You
'Cause
think
some
that
of 'em-
could be coming?
Yeah, because I know last year we spent like, I don't know, $800,000 on scholarships. But there was schools that we played that spent $2 million. That's not even. I'm not saying excuse, but that's not, like I say, when you got a boarding situation, whoo, that you're on a different level. There's no doubt when you can bring kids in quickly and they're eligible. There's no doubt. And like I say, you got them coming from everywhere. Different levels. There's different levels now. There's no doubt.
We could go 6 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness gracious.
I'll come back.
Hey, when you
Anytime.
And when you think of power, think of your friends at Napa Store on Burstable Highway. If you need extra juice, think of the powerful Legend batteries. And Napa has powerful stuff like Carlisle, Ingersoll Rand, and Milwaukee. Feel free to call 931-474-6272 for more information. Napa, the proud supporter of Trev's Power Broker of the Week. Trev, I think this is an easy one, buddy.
Yeah, he's in the room. Coach, I just want to say we appreciate you coming. It's been an honor. I don't know how or why you sat down with us three idiots.
I enjoyed it.
We are so grateful and so glad that you did, and for all you've done for the game of football, this community, and every community you've been a part of. So for that, I'm going to give you the Power Broker of the Week.
Well, I appreciate it. And like I say, I'll come back. I'll be glad to.
That's 18 state titles now, right?
Yeah.
I'm a high school guy. I'm a high school fan, football, basketball, all the sports. I'm a little worried about high school football right now. I don't have to worry about Boyd or Riverdale, Alcoa, all those places. But I'm worried about the sport across the state and where it's going. And like I say, I think it's definitely football more so than just getting kids to play and losing some of these programs. And I hope Tilo Sablé and whoever's in the positions to turn this thing around a little bit. I don't know the answers, but I'm concerned about our high school game for sure.
Coach, we might try to bring you back right before week 0, or maybe we can get you midway through the season or something.
Be glad
like that.
to. I enjoyed it. I'll be glad to.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna wrap it up again.
Thank you,
Presenting
guys.
sponsor,
Appreciate it.
Raiders Barbecue 635-2259. Thanks for everybody that tuned in on here. We'll be back next week.
Goodness.